What if the world we know today is only the shadow of something far older, something unimaginably vast? Across remote landscapes, hidden in plain sight, enormous stone structures rise, some heavier than modern skyscrapers, some precisely aligned with the stars, built long before recorded history. Who could have moved these massive blocks, carved with uncanny precision, and why? Could they be remnants of a civilization lost to time, swallowed by waters in a cataclysm that reshaped the planet itself? From the windswept deserts of Egypt to the rugged mountains of Turkey, from the jungles of South America to the plains of Palestine, these megalithic wonders challenge everything we thought we knew about our ancestors. Each site tells a story etched in stone, a puzzle that has baffled archaeologists, engineers, and explorers for centuries. Were these monuments simply for the gods, or were they part of a far more sophisticated knowledge we may have forgotten entirely? So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the astonishing world of these colossal structures, uncovering mysteries that hint at a lost age, a world before the Great Flood. In the heart of Lebanon, nestled within the sprawling ruins of Baalbek, lies one of the most awe-inspiring and perplexing monuments of the ancient world. The Temple of Jupiter, once the largest religious sanctuary in the Roman Empire, dominates the landscape, its grand columns reaching skyward as if attempting to pierce the heavens. But it is not the columns that draw the eyes of scholars and explorers alike. It is the massive stones at the very foundation, known today as the Trilithon. 3 colossal blocks, each weighing over 800 tons, are laid with a precision that defies conventional explanation. Nearby, even larger stones, some exceeding 1,200 tons, hint at a scale of construction that remains staggering to this day. The origin of these megaliths has long fascinated archaeologists. Mainstream scholarship suggests they were quarried from nearby sites, shaped with iron tools, and transported with sheer human ingenuity, likely using rollers, levers, and manpower. The Romans, it is believed, completed much of the temple complex, integrating these already massive stones into a structure of unprecedented grandeur. And yet, despite centuries of study, the methods used to move and position these enormous blocks remain a puzzle. How could ancient engineers maneuver stones heavier than any modern crane can lift today, with a precision so exact that even after millennia, the gaps between them are almost imperceptible? Some propose that the secrets of Baalbek lie not only in the skill of human hands, but in the lost knowledge of civilizations that existed long before the Romans arrived. Ancient legends speak of giants, of primordial builders whose understanding of stone and earth far exceeded that of later cultures. Could it be that the Romans simply inherited the site, adding to a foundation laid by those who came before, whose techniques were already lost to history? The sheer scale of the Trilithon blocks suggests an ambition and capability that seems almost otherworldly. Geologically, the stones are limestone, quarried from nearby hills. Yet, moving them even a few meters today would require extraordinary effort. Some researchers note the precision with which each block was carved and set, allowing them to fit together almost seamlessly without mortar. The sheer weight, the alignment, and the placement atop a raised platform, these elements combine to create an engineering feat that continues to baffle modern minds. Were these stones merely practical foundations, or did they serve a ceremonial or symbolic purpose, anchoring the temple to cosmic or terrestrial principles we no longer fully understand? Historical accounts provide few answers. Writers from the Roman period describe Baalbek as a magnificent city of temples dedicated to Jupiter, Venus, and Bacchus, yet their descriptions barely touch on the mysteries of the stones themselves. Medieval chroniclers were similarly awed, often embellishing tales with references to supernatural assistance or divine intervention. Modern excavation has revealed tools, unfinished blocks, and traces of ancient quarries, but no definitive record explaining the full process. Speculation, of course, flourishes in the shadows of uncertainty. Some theorists suggest advanced techniques lost to history, mechanical knowledge of leverage beyond what we currently understand, or even methods employing acoustics, water, or other principles that have yet to be replicated. Others point to the alignment of the temple with celestial events, suggesting the stones may have had astronomical significance beyond mere construction. Could it be that these megaliths were not just foundations, but markers, instruments, or monuments designed with purposes both practical and esoteric? The Trilithon of Baalbek is not an isolated phenomenon. Around the world, from the Andes to the Mediterranean, massive stones appear in ancient sites, often aligned, sometimes carved with intricate precision. Yet few match the scale found in Lebanon. The sheer enormity of the stones, combined with the seeming impossibility of their placement, forces us to question assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies. Were they the result of extraordinary engineering alone, or do they hint at forgotten knowledge, perhaps inherited, perhaps lost? Walking among the ruins today, the enormity of the stones is almost oppressive. One can feel the weight of history pressing down, a tangible reminder of human ambition and mystery intertwined. The silence between the blocks is almost sacred, punctuated only by the whispers of wind and the faint echo of footsteps from centuries past. Scholars measure, map, and theorize, yet no single explanation fully satisfies. Each hypothesis raises new questions, and every measurement confirms the scale of what remains inexplicable. As the sun sets over Baalbek, shadows stretch along the surface of the Trilithon, highlighting grooves, seams, and patterns that have survived millennia. The stones seem to hold their secrets stubbornly, offering glimpses, but not answers. What drove the builders to undertake such a monumental task? What tools, techniques, or knowledge did they possess that we cannot replicate today? And perhaps most hauntingly, what purpose did these giants of stone truly serve in a world that existed long before our own recorded history? In the end, the Trilithon of Baalbek stands as a silent testament to both human ingenuity and enduring mystery. It invites contemplation, challenges understanding, and whispers of a past that may be far older and far stranger than we dare imagine. As we continue to study and explore, one truth remains clear. The mystery of Baalbek is far from solved, and the story of these colossal stones is only just beginning to reveal its depth. From the high plains of the Bolivian Altiplano, near the shimmering waters of Lake Titicaca, emerges Puma Punku, a site of unparalleled precision and enigmatic engineering. Spread across the arid plateau, the ruins reveal a labyrinth of massive stone terraces, perfectly leveled platforms, and intricately carved blocks that seem to defy logic. Each stone, some weighing more than 100 tons, bears cuts, grooves, and notches so precise that even modern machinery would struggle to replicate them. The scale alone is breathtaking, but it is the perfection, the geometric clarity, the uniform angles, the smooth surfaces, that has captivated scholars and explorers for generations. Mainstream archaeology attributes Puma Punku to the Tiwanaku culture, flourishing between roughly 500 and 1000 AD, suggesting that the stones were quarried locally and shaped using hammer stones and rudimentary tools. Yet when confronted with the complexity of certain blocks, some exceeding 7 meters in length and carved with such straight, smooth channels, traditional explanations begin to strain. How could a civilization without iron tools or modern machinery create cuts so precise, angles so exact, and interlocking shapes that fit together like pieces of a giant puzzle? The stones at Puma Punku are primarily andesite and red sandstone, materials dense and resistant to carving. Yet the techniques used to shape them reveal a level of sophistication that is extraordinary. Some blocks feature T-shaped connectors, channels for joining stones, and perfectly smooth surfaces that suggest not just skill, but an understanding of engineering principles that may have surpassed their time. For many, this raises a question: were these methods purely functional, or were they designed with a knowledge of geometry, astronomy, or sacred architecture now lost to us? Adding to the mystery is the apparent modular design of the blocks. Certain stones seem cut with exact measurements, forming standardized units that could be assembled with minimal adjustment, almost as if prefabricated components were brought together to create a larger structure. This degree of planning suggests not only engineering prowess, but also a vision of monumental scale, a vision that some researchers believe could hint at traditions inherited from a civilization predating the Tiwanaku culture itself. Could these techniques have been passed down from a long-lost civilization, one whose knowledge vanished beneath floods, earthquakes, or the slow erosion of time? The precision of Puma Punku is not limited to measurements alone. Many blocks display perfectly straight edges, 90-degree angles, and even right-angled channels cut into some of the hardest stones on the plateau. In some instances, the carvings resemble tools of advanced craftsmanship. Grooves so straight they suggest mechanical assistance, surfaces so flat they rival modern stone-cutting methods. While mainstream theories offer plausible solutions involving labor-intensive techniques, sledges, levers, and meticulous measurement, these alone seem barely sufficient to account for the perfection achieved. Speculation naturally arises when confronted with such anomalies. Some researchers posit that the builders may have possessed techniques or knowledge now lost, perhaps a sophisticated understanding of leverage, friction reduction, or stone softening. Others suggest that the alignment of certain platforms and blocks may encode astronomical knowledge, marking solstices, equinoxes, or planetary cycles, hints that Puma Punku was not merely a city foundation, but a ceremonial or cosmological instrument. Could it be that each cut, each joint, each seemingly impossible placement served a dual purpose, combining engineering with meaning, utility with ritual? The broader context deepens the mystery. Puma Punku sits within a larger complex connected to Tiwanaku, yet its blocks are unlike anything else in the region. Some massive stones appear abandoned or scattered, their original positions unclear. Erosion and seismic activity may explain some displacement, but the fact that so many blocks bear identical cuts and alignments implies deliberate design. It is as if the builders left behind a puzzle in stone, a message or blueprint meant to survive generations, or perhaps a record of knowledge no longer understood. Standing among the ruins today, the enormity of Puma Punku is almost tangible. The wind sweeps across the plateau, rustling the grass and carrying faint echoes of a distant past. Shadows trace the carved channels, highlighting the straightness of the edges and the precision of the joins. It is easy to imagine the labor, the planning, and the ingenuity required. And yet, even as we measure and theorize, a sense of awe remains. These stones speak silently, offering clues but withholding certainty. Questions persist, and they are difficult to ignore. Were these massive, perfectly cut blocks the work of a culture capable of extraordinary innovation? Or do they hint at knowledge from an era even older, one lost to pre-flood civilizations whose achievements were later inherited, misunderstood, or forgotten? How did the Tiwanaku people, or perhaps their predecessors, achieve such feats with the tools and materials available at the time? And, perhaps most hauntingly, what other secrets might remain buried beneath the plateau, waiting for discovery? Puma Punku, in all its precision and scale, challenges our understanding of human history. It invites us to ponder not just the ingenuity of ancient builders, but the depth of knowledge, skill, and ambition that may have existed long before recorded time. As we trace the angles examine the grooves, and stand in the presence of stones that have endured millennia, the mystery persists, silent, monumental, and profoundly compelling. As the winds sweep across the arid hills of southeastern Anatolia, a cluster of stone circles rises from the earth at Göbekli Tepe, their presence both majestic and inexplicably ancient. Unlike any conventional settlement, these megalithic pillars stand as silent sentinels of a time that predates recorded history by millennia. Carved from locally quarried limestone, some pillars soar over 5 meters high, their weight measured in tons, yet they have remained upright for more than 11,000 years. Around them, the ground has been carefully leveled, the circular enclosures meticulously arranged, hinting at a purpose far beyond simple habitation. Göbekli Tepe challenges every assumption about the dawn of human civilization. Mainstream archaeology dates the site to roughly 9600–8000 BC, making it not only older than Stonehenge but predating the rise of permanent villages, agriculture, and metallurgy. The pillars are often adorned with reliefs of animals, lions, foxes, snakes, and birds, carved with remarkable detail and, at times, in a style that conveys motion, narrative, and perhaps meaning lost to us. How could hunter-gatherers, without the technologies we associate with later monumental architecture, have erected stones of such size and intricacy? Excavations reveal that many pillars are T-shaped, some standing alone, others arranged in concentric circles. The symmetry, alignment, and spacing suggest a deliberate design, a conceptual plan that required both vision and coordination. Mainstream explanations propose that the site served as a ritual or ceremonial center, a gathering place for early humans to worship, celebrate, or mark astronomical events. Yet the scale of the construction, combined with the sophistication of the carvings, raises questions that linger at the edges of our understanding. The construction techniques remain a subject of intense study. Carving limestone with flint tools, transporting massive stones from nearby quarries, and then positioning them upright would have demanded extraordinary organization and knowledge. Some pillars were carefully buried, only to be re-exposed millennia later, an intentional act whose purpose is still debated. Was this a form of ritual decommissioning, a method of preservation, or a message intended for future generations? The intentional burying of such monumental stones hints at a belief system or cultural understanding far beyond what we might expect from societies of this era. Intrigue deepens when examining the carvings themselves. Many of the animals depicted at Göbekli Tepe do not appear in a purely naturalistic style. Instead, they are stylized, sometimes exaggerated, and occasionally juxtaposed with abstract motifs. Could these be symbolic representations, stories encoded in stone, or a form of proto-writing yet to be deciphered? Some researchers have noted alignments and patterns that may correspond to celestial events, suggesting a dual purpose, both ceremonial and astronomical. If so, the builders were not only artisans and engineers, but observers of the heavens, embedding knowledge into stone that has survived tens of thousands of nights. The question of labor and organization also invites speculation. A site of this scale, in an era before permanent settlements, would have required coordinated effort by large groups, perhaps hundreds of individuals. What drove them to invest such enormous energy into a structure that had no immediate practical use, no defensive purpose, and no agriculture to sustain them on site? Some theorists propose that Göbekli Tepe represents evidence of a sophisticated, pre-flood civilization, whose understanding of stone, organization, and ritual surpassed what we typically ascribe to prehistoric peoples. Could it be that the knowledge, the techniques, or even the vision required to create Göbekli Tepe were inherited from an earlier age, now obscured by time and cataclysm? The site's location itself is striking. Perched on a hilltop, it commands a view of the surrounding plains, rivers, and distant mountains. This elevated position may have been chosen for practical reasons, to be visible from afar, to catch the first light of the rising sun, or for spiritual ones, a deliberate selection that imbued the site with significance tied to the landscape and the cosmos. Every stone, every carving, and every carefully laid circle suggests intention, as though the builders sought to encode meaning into the very ground beneath their feet. Walking among the pillars today, the atmosphere is almost otherworldly. The air is dry and cool, carrying whispers of millennia past. Shadows stretch across the carved reliefs, emphasizing the contours, the precision, and the enduring presence of these stones. Archaeologists measure, document, and analyze, yet the deeper questions remain. Who were these people, and what knowledge did they possess? How did they manage to erect such massive stones, and why? What drove them to build a sanctuary of this scale long before the rise of cities, agriculture, or written language? Göbekli Tepe, in all its silent grandeur, forces us to reconsider the timeline of human history. It is a place where engineering, artistry, and perhaps belief converge in a way that feels both familiar and alien, ancient yet strikingly modern in concept. The stones speak to us not with words, but through presence, scale, and design, challenging assumptions and inviting wonder. As we trace the circles, study the carvings, and stand among pillars that have endured millennia, the mystery persists. Questions linger, unresolved and compelling. Were these monumental constructions the product of an unknown, advanced culture, or the pinnacle of ingenuity achieved by early hunter-gatherers? Did Göbekli Tepe serve a purely spiritual purpose, or did it encode knowledge, astronomical, mathematical, or otherwise, that has been lost to time? And perhaps most intriguingly, what other secrets might still lie buried beneath the hill, waiting for discovery, offering whispers of civilizations older than any we can yet imagine? Beneath the turquoise waters off the southern coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island lies a formation that has captivated the imagination of divers, archaeologists, and explorers for decades. Rising from the seabed at a depth of 5 to 25 meters, the Yonaguni Monument presents a striking array of terraces, steps, and platforms carved into massive slabs of sandstone. From above, the structures appear almost architectural, their sheer scale and geometric precision evoking the ruins of a sunken city. Lines and angles run straight for tens of meters. Corners form near-perfect right angles, and massive flat surfaces stretch across the underwater plateau, features that suggest intention and design. Mainstream geology often attributes the monument to natural tectonic activity and erosion, proposing that the terraces, ledges, and angular formations are the product of fracture patterns and wave action over millennia. Indeed, the Yonaguni region is prone to seismic shifts, and the sandstone itself can fracture along distinct planes. Yet even for skeptics, certain features are difficult to reconcile with purely natural processes. Steps rise in uniform height. Flat surfaces align across long distances, and some formations appear to connect in a deliberate pattern. Could such regularity arise entirely by chance, or does it hint at human modification, perhaps thousands of years ago, before the land was claimed by the sea? Those who support the idea of an artificial origin point to the scale and precision of the features. Massive blocks appear as if quarried, smoothed, and arranged, forming terraces that suggest streets, plazas, or ceremonial platforms. Some of the larger terraces measure over 20 meters in width, with flat surfaces that could have supported structures or gatherings. Certain formations resemble monolithic staircases. Others hint at walls or even potential building foundations. Yet no definitive tools or artifacts have been recovered. Nothing that confirms human intervention beyond speculation. And still, the sight of these submerged stones leaves a profound impression. The shapes are unmistakably evocative of architecture. The question of age adds to the intrigue. Current estimates of sea level rise suggest that the monument would have been above water roughly 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, placing it near the end of the last ice age. If humans did carve or shape these stones at that time, they would have predated many of the civilizations typically credited with monumental construction. How could such a society, existing at the dawn of post-Ice Age habitation, possess the knowledge, tools, and social organization necessary to execute a project of this magnitude? The implication alone challenges our conventional understanding of prehistoric human capabilities. Divers who explore Yonaguni often describe an almost eerie sensation, as if the formations are imbued with intention. The edges of terraces and platforms are unusually straight. Long, narrow channels cut into the stone suggest some functional or ritual purpose. Some researchers have identified what appear to be large stone pillars, isolated and upright, reminiscent of megalithic columns seen in other ancient sites around the world. Could these features be remnants of ceremonial structures, or markers of territory, or something else entirely? Something whose meaning has been lost to the depths of time and ocean? Speculative theories abound. Some suggest that the Yonaguni Monument represents the ruins of a sunken civilization, perhaps connected to pre-flood cultures mentioned in ancient myths. Others propose that the site was part of a network of early settlements, advanced in ways that left no conventional archaeological record. Could the architectural features indicate a society capable of sophisticated planning, geometry, and social organization far earlier than previously recognized? And if so, what else might remain hidden beneath the waters, waiting for discovery? Even if one approaches Yonaguni with caution, acknowledging the power of natural geology, the human mind cannot help but perceive patterns and purpose. The terraces form straight lines, the platforms rise like steps to an unknown destination, and some formations suggest intentional carving, smoothing, and alignment. Perhaps the monument represents a combination of natural processes and human enhancement, a collaboration of nature and early human ingenuity. Whatever the explanation, the visual impact is undeniable, and the sense of wonder remains as strong today as it must have for the first divers to descend into these blue depths. Geographically, Yonaguni sits near tectonic fault lines, a reminder of the restless earth beneath the waves. The sandstone itself is both durable and brittle, shaped by earthquakes, currents, and tides. Yet despite these forces, the terraces and platforms remain remarkably intact, preserving the geometric impression for anyone who gazes upon them. The juxtaposition of natural erosion and apparent design only deepens the enigma. If humans did intervene, they must have possessed an understanding of stone and structure far exceeding what we typically associate with Ice Age societies. As we drift among the submerged formations today, the silence of the ocean amplifies the mystery. Fish weave through narrow channels, currents brush along steps and platforms, and sunlight refracts across the surfaces in shifting patterns, highlighting angles and edges that seem both deliberate and impossible. Archaeologists, divers, and enthusiasts continue to debate, measure, and photograph, yet the questions endure. Who created these formations, and why? Did they serve practical, ceremonial, or symbolic purposes, or were they markers of knowledge and territory long forgotten? And most provocatively, might this underwater landscape preserve traces of a civilization that predates recorded history, perhaps even predating the cataclysms remembered in myths of a great flood? The Yonaguni Monument remains a place of quiet wonder, an enigma carved or shaped by forces of stone, time, and possibly human hands. Its terraces, steps, and pillars invite contemplation, challenging assumptions and inspiring curiosity. As we explore the depths and trace the lines etched into ancient sandstone, the mystery remains, urging us to look closer, question further and imagine what might still be hidden beneath the ocean's embrace, waiting to reveal stories from an age long lost. Rising from the golden sands of the Giza Plateau, under the unrelenting Egyptian sun, the Great Pyramid of Khufu dominates the horizon with an almost magnetic presence. Its sheer scale is staggering, originally over 146 meters high, with each base side stretching more than 230 meters. It is composed of an estimated 2.3 million blocks of limestone and granite, some weighing over 80 tons. The surface, once gleaming with polished casing stones, reflected sunlight across the desert, creating a radiant beacon visible for miles. Even today, stripped of much of its outer casing, the pyramid conveys a sense of precision, power, and mystery that has captured human imagination for millennia. The Great Pyramid is the oldest and largest of the trio that crowns Giza, built around 2560 BC, yet it raises questions that extend far beyond its own era. Mainstream archaeology attributes its construction to the Egyptians of the 4th dynasty, relying on vast labor forces, ramps, levers, and meticulous planning. Hieroglyphs, tombs, and historical records point to a civilization skilled in engineering and mathematics. And yet, when confronted with the precision of alignment, its sides oriented almost perfectly to the cardinal points, its base leveled with astonishing accuracy, the accepted explanations begin to feel incomplete. How did a society without modern surveying tools achieve such geometric perfection over an area of more than 5 hectares? The internal structure is equally enigmatic. Narrow passageways, grand chambers, and hidden corridors create a complex network within the pyramid. The king's chamber, carved from massive granite blocks, sits in perfect proportion to the rest of the structure, while the grand gallery rises at a precise angle, as if engineered to channel energy or attention toward a singular purpose. The air shafts, some aligned with specific stars, add a layer of astronomical sophistication. Were these internal features purely functional, designed for burial and ceremonial rites, or do they hint at a deeper knowledge of geometry, physics, or cosmology encoded in stone? One cannot ignore the sheer scale of the materials themselves. The limestone blocks were quarried locally, while the granite for the king's chamber arrived from Aswan, over 800 kilometers away. Transporting stones of such size and weight without the aid of modern machinery seems nearly impossible, yet the builders accomplished it with remarkable efficiency. Some theorists suggest lost techniques or tools, unknown to us today, may have enabled these feats, while others propose that the labor force was far larger, more organized, or more specialized than historical records indicate. Could the precision of the work, the size of the stones, and the alignment of the structure suggest knowledge inherited from a civilization older than the pyramid itself? The Great Pyramid's orientation amplifies the mystery. Its alignment with the cardinal points is precise to within a fraction of a degree, a feat that seems extraordinary even by modern standards. Astronomical correlations, particularly with Orion's belt, have led some researchers to speculate on intentional celestial mapping, a symbolic or functional connection to the heavens. Could the builders have understood principles of astronomy and engineering in a way that challenges our assumptions about human capabilities at the time? And if so, from whom or from where did such knowledge originate? Legends and speculation have always surrounded the pyramid. Some suggest it was more than a tomb, serving as a repository of knowledge, a tool, or a monument designed to preserve wisdom across ages. Others point to its endurance. Millennia of earthquakes, sandstorms, and human activity have left the structure remarkably intact, almost as if it were constructed to withstand time itself. The precision of the masonry, the uniformity of blocks, and the sheer scale invite wonder. How could such massive stones be shaped, transported, and placed so perfectly without gaps larger than a fraction of a millimeter. The plateau itself adds to the enigmatic impression. The Giza complex is not isolated. It is surrounded by the smaller pyramids, temples, causeways, and tombs of the surrounding necropolis, all carefully aligned within the broader landscape. Was this arrangement purely ceremonial, or did it reflect deeper geometric or energetic principles? Some researchers point to water channels and landscape features that may have amplified certain effects or served as part of an unseen plan. Could the location have been chosen for reasons we cannot fully perceive today? A nexus of earth, sky, and stone designed to endure both physically and symbolically? Walking among the ancient stones today, the Great Pyramid conveys a presence that is impossible to ignore. The desert wind whispers across the terraces and passageways. Shadows highlight the precise edges of each block, and the massive scale humbles every observer. Historians, engineers, and archaeologists continue to debate methods, intentions, and meanings, yet the questions persist. Was this the pinnacle of human achievement at the time, or does it represent the inheritance of knowledge from an earlier, lost civilization, perhaps even predating the known Egyptian dynasties? The Great Pyramid of Giza remains as enigmatic as it is monumental. It challenges our understanding of human history, engineering, and astronomy. Every stone seems to speak of purpose, precision, and endurance. As we stand before it, tracing the edges, considering the internal chambers, and imagining the effort required to build it, one cannot help but wonder how much more of human history lies hidden beneath sand, stone, and time itself. What secrets did the builders know, and what might still be waiting to be discovered within or around these colossal monuments? Far across the vast Pacific Ocean, on the tranquil lagoon of Pohnpei in Micronesia, lies a city unlike any other, Nan Madol. Rising from the waters in a labyrinth of islets and canals, it has been called the Venice of the Pacific, yet its scale and construction evoke something far older and far more enigmatic. Gigantic basalt columns, some towering over 6 meters and weighing tens of tons, are stacked with precision to form walls, platforms, and enclosures, creating a city of stone that stretches across more than 400 hectares. The network of canals separates more than 90 artificial islets, linked by stone causeways that still withstand the tides, giving the appearance of a city both afloat and immovable. Mainstream archaeology dates Nan Madol to roughly 1200 to 1600 AD, attributing its construction to the Sodelur dynasty, rulers who centralized power over Pohnpei. The basalt used in the walls was quarried from distant sites on the island, transported and arranged with remarkable skill. Yet even accounting for human ingenuity and manpower, the sheer scale of the construction raises profound questions. How did a society without advanced machinery move stones weighing up to 50 tons across the water and pile them into stable, enduring structures? How did they design a city with such complex engineering, including canals that function as tidal conduits, allowing water to flow freely while supporting the foundations of monumental stone buildings? Some researchers suggest that the builders employed ingenious methods using logs, rafts, and levers, along with carefully coordinated labor. But when standing on the causeways today, observing the alignment of the islets, the uniformity of the basalt columns, and the precision with which they interlock, one cannot help but wonder if these explanations capture the full story. The city's planning demonstrates not just engineering skill, but a comprehensive understanding of architecture, hydrology, and urban design, knowledge that seems exceptional for a society traditionally viewed as primarily agrarian and maritime. Adding to the intrigue is the quality and size of the stones themselves. Many of the basalt columns are naturally squared, yet they were moved, arranged, and in some cases shaped further to create perfect corners and vertical walls. Some platforms rise 2 or 3 meters above the lagoon, while others support ceremonial and residential structures that once housed the ruling elite. The precision of the construction, the uniformity of placement, and the scale of effort required suggest a society operating with extraordinary coordination and perhaps knowledge passed down through generations, or even inherited from an earlier, forgotten civilization. The layout of Nan Madol invites further speculation. The city's islets are not randomly positioned. They follow a deliberate plan, with ceremonial centers, residential areas, and burial sites carefully separated yet connected through an intricate network of canals. Could this organization reflect spiritual, astronomical, or political principles? Some researchers note alignments that may correspond to the solstices or other celestial phenomena, hinting that the city's orientation might carry symbolic or practical significance beyond its functional design. Was Nan Madol merely a royal capital, or was it a monument to knowledge, power, and perhaps an understanding of the natural world that we are only beginning to grasp? Local legends enhance the mystery. Stories speak of divine or semi-divine builders, of men who moved mountains of stone using magical or secret methods. Oral traditions describe the Saudeleur dynasty as possessing extraordinary capabilities, yet the origins of these abilities are shrouded in myth. Could it be that the dynasty inherited techniques from a civilization long submerged beneath the waves, lost to time and memory, a remnant of a pre-flood culture whose knowledge of stone and water engineering was unmatched? The city's isolation adds to the sense of awe. Rising from a lagoon surrounded by dense jungle and coral reefs, Nan Madol is both remote and imposing. Tides lap against the basalt walls, waves crash along the causeways, and the air carries the salt and scent of the ocean. Standing there today, it is easy to imagine the effort required to shape and place each stone, the labor of hundreds or perhaps thousands over decades. Yet despite this monumental effort, the city was abandoned centuries ago, leaving its massive stones to endure in silence, slowly reclaimed by nature. Questions linger even after careful study. How did the builders achieve such structural stability, moving and stacking massive basalt columns in a tidal environment without the aid of modern technology? Was the city designed purely for political control, ceremonial purposes, or did it encode knowledge of a more ancient understanding of engineering and astronomy? And if its construction does indeed hint at methods or knowledge lost to history, what else might have been created by civilizations predating our current understanding, swept away by rising seas or cataclysmic events? Nan Madol stands as a testament to human ingenuity, yet it also serves as a profound mystery. Its canals, causeways, and towering walls speak silently across centuries, inviting reflection on the capabilities of our ancestors and the knowledge that may have been lost in the depths of time. As we drift along its ancient waterways, tracing the contours of basalt platforms and observing the meticulous organization of its islets, one cannot help but wonder, what secrets remain buried beneath the water, hidden in the stones, or forgotten in stories passed down through generations? The mystery endures, beckoning us to look closer and to question what we think we know about the origins of monumental construction and the civilizations that may have preceded recorded history. Rising from the lush, terraced hills of western Java, Indonesia, Gunung Padang presents itself as a site both majestic and enigmatic. At first glance, it resembles a natural hill dotted with large volcanic stones, arranged in terraces that ascend toward the summit. Yet closer inspection reveals patterns that are unlikely to be purely accidental. The stones are carefully aligned, forming stepped platforms, retaining walls, and rectangular enclosures. Stretching across more than 15 hectares, Gunung Padang exudes a presence that feels deliberately monumental, a structure designed to command attention and to endure through the centuries. Mainstream archaeology has long associated Gunung Padang with megalithic culture, suggesting construction around 2500–1500 BC. Excavations have revealed layers of stone terraces, hearths, and post holes, indicating human activity over centuries. Yet recent studies, including ground-penetrating radar and core sampling, have raised tantalizing questions. Beneath the visible structures lies a vast, densely packed network of stones that may extend hundreds of meters downward, potentially indicating a foundation far older than previously recognized. Radiocarbon dating of organic material within these layers hints at dates as early as 20,000 BC, a claim that, if verified, would push the origins of advanced construction back to a time traditionally considered prehistoric. The site's location is both strategic and evocative. Perched atop a volcanic hill, Gunung Padang overlooks valleys and rice terraces, providing a commanding view of the surrounding landscape. Its elevated position may have been chosen for defensive, ceremonial, or even astronomical purposes. Some researchers have noted alignments with cardinal points and possible connections to solar events, suggesting that the builders possessed an understanding of the heavens as well as the earth. Could this have been a sacred site, a center of ritual, or a monument encoding knowledge of both terrestrial and celestial cycles? The construction itself invites further contemplation. The stones are primarily volcanic, locally sourced, and shaped with remarkable uniformity. Terraces rise at precise intervals, with retaining walls that demonstrate advanced engineering and stability. The sheer volume of material, combined with the apparent planning required to create layered platforms atop a hill, speaks to sophisticated organizational skills. If some of the lower, buried layers are indeed older, as studies suggest, this would imply knowledge of engineering and monumental construction at a time when mainstream history assumes humanity had not yet developed agriculture or complex society. How could such enormous structures have been conceived and executed by communities typically described as small, nomadic, or dispersed? Intrigue deepens when considering the possibility of a multi-layered, multi-epic site. Some scholars propose that Gunung Padang may have been built in stages, with newer megalithic terraces erected atop older, previously hidden constructions. Could the hill itself be a monument built over generations, perhaps preserving knowledge, power, or ceremonial significance from a civilization long forgotten? If so, what technologies or methods were employed to quarry, shape, and arrange stones so precisely without the machinery we rely on today? And what inspired these people to invest so much labor into a site that would endure for millennia? Beyond engineering, the symbolism of Gunung Padang is striking. The terraces resemble pyramidal steps, reminiscent of other monumental structures scattered across the globe, from Central America to Mesopotamia. The echoes of similar architectural forms suggest either a remarkable convergence of human ingenuity, or perhaps a shared inheritance of knowledge originating from an era predating recorded history. Were these constructions purely ceremonial, intended to honor deities or mark sacred events, or do they also encode astronomical, geographic, or mathematical knowledge now lost to time? The layers beneath the surface continue to challenge assumptions. Geophysical surveys reveal extensive underground formations, a dense lattice of stone blocks that extends far beyond what is visible at the summit. Some suggest these lower layers may represent a hidden city, a temple complex, or an even older monument buried intentionally, preserving its secrets beneath earth and stone. If these claims prove accurate, Gunung Padang would not merely be a megalithic site. It would be evidence of a civilization capable of monumental planning tens of thousands of years ago, a civilization whose knowledge and skills remain largely invisible to us today. Walking across the terraces today, the experience is both grounding and humbling. The stones bear the wear of centuries, yet their precision and arrangement suggest deliberate purpose. The hill rises steeply, demanding effort to ascend, and each level reveals another layer of design, another facet of the enigma. Archaeologists and visitors alike report a palpable sense of awe, a recognition that they are in the presence of something enduring, deliberate, and profoundly mysterious. Questions persist, unanswered and compelling. Who built Gunung Padang, and why? Were they the last remnants of a pre-flood civilization, a culture whose knowledge of stone, planning, and alignment surpassed what we thought possible for their time? Or was it the cumulative effort of generations, layering knowledge and ritual over millennia, building a monument that would survive the rise and fall of dynasties, natural disasters, and perhaps even cataclysmic floods? And what lies hidden still beneath the hill, waiting to reveal its secrets to those who dare to look deeper? Gunung Padang stands as a silent sentinel, an ancient enigma carved and arranged in stone. It invites reflection, observation, and contemplation, bridging the gap between human ingenuity and the mysteries of deep time. As we trace its terraces, examine its massive stones, and ponder the layers beneath, one cannot help but wonder, what other monuments, knowledge, or civilizations might remain obscured by earth and memory, waiting for discovery in a world that is far older and stranger than conventional history admits? Nestled in the rugged mountains of Lebanon, near the ancient city of Baalbek, stands a monolith so immense that it defies easy comprehension. Known as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, or Hajar al-Hibla, this colossal slab of limestone rests in a nearby quarry, abandoned but not forgotten. Measuring over 20 meters in length, 8 meters in width, and 5 meters in height, it is estimated to weigh more than 1,000 tons. Its sheer scale, combined with the clean cuts and the precise shaping of its edges, has long captured the attention of travelers, historians, and engineers alike. Even from a distance, the stone exerts an almost magnetic presence, a silent testament to human ambition, or perhaps to human curiosity confronted by something almost impossible. The stone itself has never been moved from its original quarry, a fact that only adds to the enigma. Mainstream scholars attribute the site to Roman quarrying efforts, suggesting that the builders of nearby temples at Baalbek intended to use the stone in monumental construction, but abandoned it for unknown reasons. Yet one cannot ignore the practical impossibility of transporting such a mass with ancient tools. Even using rollers, sledges, and thousands of laborers, moving a stone of this magnitude over rugged terrain presents challenges that verge on the inconceivable. How could such a feat have been attempted without modern machinery, and why was it never completed? Closer examination reveals remarkable craftsmanship. The surface of the stone is smoothed in places, with edges cut in near-perfect straight lines, as if the workers possessed knowledge of geometry and leverage far exceeding what might be expected from conventional quarrying techniques of the time. The size alone suggests a level of ambition matched by few projects in human history, raising questions about the engineering methods employed. Did the quarry workers understand principles of mechanical advantage and load distribution that are still being studied today? And if so, how was this knowledge acquired and preserved? The stone of the pregnant woman is also embedded in local mythology, adding another layer to its mystery. According to legend, the monolith was so heavy that even supernatural forces were required to move it, and that it was imbued with symbolic significance relating to fertility, power, or protection. The name itself, evocative and enigmatic, implies a connection to life, creation, or the earth itself. Could the stone have served as a ceremonial object, a marker of cosmic or spiritual knowledge, or even a remnant of a construction project tied to a civilization predating what is recorded in history? Beyond mythology, the surrounding landscape hints at extraordinary ambition. The quarry sits near the platform of Baalbek's Trilithon stones, which themselves rank among the largest megalithic blocks ever used in construction. The proximity suggests that ancient builders possessed techniques for cutting, shaping, and perhaps even moving colossal stones, yet the exact methods remain elusive. Some scholars posit that advanced tools or lost methods may have been employed, while others speculate that the block was abandoned because its size exceeded practical capability. But questions remain. Were these stones the product of sheer trial and error, or did they reflect a deeper, now lost understanding of engineering, physics, and geometry? The unfinished nature of the stone of the pregnant woman adds to its silent grandeur. Unlike other monoliths that were moved, carved, and integrated into temples, this one remains stationary, as if waiting to reveal its secrets. Its sheer presence forces the observer to confront the scale of human, or perhaps pre-human ambition, and to wonder whether this was an isolated effort or part of a tradition of monumental construction stretching back millennia. Could this quarry, and others like it, represent the remnants of a culture that existed before recorded history, perhaps even predating cataclysmic events that reshaped the world? Scientists and engineers continue to study the stone, measuring angles, estimating weight, and modeling potential transportation methods. Even with advanced technology, moving a 1,000-ton block remains a formidable challenge, highlighting the mystery of ancient builders' intentions and capabilities. Some suggest the stone may have been a deliberate statement of power or an offering to the gods, its massive scale serving as proof of human ambition and ingenuity. Others look to the possibility of forgotten techniques, perhaps inherited from civilizations now lost beneath time, earth, or floodwaters. The landscape itself reinforces the mystery. The quarry, perched amid rolling hills and ancient ruins, evokes a sense of awe and isolation. The unfinished block, surrounded by smaller fragments, channels, and cut marks, suggests careful planning, labor, and intention. Standing before it, one is struck by the contrast between human ambition and natural scale. The immense weight of the stone against the vast sky, the quiet persistence of limestone through millennia, and the unanswered questions that remain. The stone of the pregnant woman continues to challenge assumptions about the limits of ancient engineering. It invites speculation about human ambition, lost knowledge, and the enduring desire to manipulate the natural world on an extraordinary scale. As we trace its edges, examine its surface, and contemplate its immovable presence, we are confronted with enduring questions. Who conceived such a monumental endeavor, and why was it left unfinished? Did the knowledge required to cut, shape, and attempt to move this stone survive elsewhere, embedded in other megalithic sites around the globe? And what might still lie hidden beneath the quarry, within local myths or buried in forgotten records, waiting to shed light on civilizations long vanished? The stone of the pregnant woman remains as imposing and enigmatic today as it did thousands of years ago. It challenges our understanding of ancient human capability, inviting reflection, curiosity, and wonder. Silent and immovable, it continues to provoke the imagination, reminding us that the story of monumental construction may stretch far deeper into prehistory than conventional history has dared to imagine. Perched high above the ancient city of Cusco in the Peruvian Andes, the megalithic walls of Sacsayhuamán rise with a presence both commanding and enigmatic. From a distance, the terraces and zigzagging stone ramparts appear almost impossibly precise, each block fitted so perfectly to its neighbor that not even a thin blade can slide between them. The stones themselves are colossal. Some weigh more than 200 tons, shaped and arranged with astonishing precision. Viewed against the backdrop of steep mountains, cloud-draped peaks, and sweeping valleys, Sacsayhuamán seems less a human construction and more a defiance of the natural world. A place where stone, sky, and human ambition converge in silent dialogue. mainstream archaeology attributes the construction of Sacsayhuamán to the Inca Empire, flourishing in the 15th century AD as a ceremonial center and fortress. Historical accounts describe the coordination of thousands of laborers, moving stones from quarries kilometers away using sheer manpower, ropes, and ramps. Yet even with these explanations, the site challenges comprehension. How could workers maneuver stones of such immense size across rugged mountain terrain with precision so exact that centuries of earthquakes have failed to dislodge them? How was it possible for each block to fit with such interlocking precision that they appear carved to endure millennia? The walls themselves tell a story of engineering that borders on the extraordinary. The stones are polygonal, each uniquely shaped, interlocking in a way that distributes weight and absorbs seismic activity. Even today, centuries after the height of Inca construction, the megaliths remain stable through frequent earthquakes that would crumble ordinary masonry. Could the builders have understood principles of load distribution and seismic engineering intuitively, or were they using knowledge inherited from cultures long predating the Inca? The possibility that Sacsayhuamán rests atop older, perhaps pre-flood foundations invites speculation that the site preserves techniques and insights from civilizations now lost to time. The site's location is equally compelling. Strategically perched overlooking Cusco, the Inca capital, it dominates the landscape, commanding both physical and symbolic authority. Scholars note that the orientation of the walls and terraces may align with astronomical phenomena, suggesting ceremonial or ritual significance beyond mere defense. Could these alignments indicate knowledge of the heavens, a mapping of celestial patterns into stone, or a sophisticated understanding of cycles that extend beyond agriculture and architecture? The very placement of Sacsayhuamán hints at an awareness of the relationship between earth and sky, a deliberate connection that transcends simple fortification. The techniques employed at Sacsayhuamán remain a topic of fascination. The stone blocks were not uniform. Each required careful shaping and placement. Many display surfaces polished smooth, edges trimmed to near perfection, and interlocking angles that resist the intrusion of wind, rain, and seismic force. Modern engineers have marveled at the precision, suggesting that to replicate the work today would require extraordinary skill, planning, and time. How did societies without modern tools achieve such enduring results? And if these methods were inherited from an earlier era, what other knowledge might have been lost, hidden within the walls themselves? Local legends and folklore add layers of intrigue. Indigenous narratives speak of giants, of ancestors who could manipulate stone and earth with uncanny skill, and of ancient knowledge passed down through generations. While myth does not substitute for evidence, it reflects a cultural memory that acknowledges the extraordinary nature of these constructions. Could Sacsayhuamán, with its massive stones and enigmatic terraces, be a monument not just of Inca power, but of a lineage of megalithic knowledge stretching far deeper into prehistory than conventional history admits? The visual impact of the site today is profound. Walking among the massive stones, one feels dwarfed by their scale and precision, sensing the effort and understanding required to quarry, transport, and assemble them. Each terrace and wall seems to communicate purpose, yet the original intent remains shrouded in mystery. Were these terraces primarily ceremonial, designed for rituals and festivals, or were they part of a functional complex imbued with symbolic meaning? And if some of the stones preserve techniques from an earlier, unknown civilization, what might have been lost along with the cultures that came before? Even the unfinished or irregular blocks contribute to the enigma. In certain sections, stones appear to have been left in partial shaping, as if plans changed or construction was interrupted. Could these anomalies point to a deliberate layering of work across generations, a continuity of construction that respected older foundations while expanding upon them? Might the site itself be a living archive of engineering, cultural, and spiritual knowledge spanning centuries, or even millennia, embedded in stone for future generations to decipher? Sacsayhuamán, in all its grandeur, challenges our assumptions about human capability and the timeline of monumental construction. It suggests that advanced knowledge of engineering, geometry, and construction may have existed long before the Inca codified it in written records. As we trace the contours of the walls, examine the interlocking stones, and consider the mountain upon which the fortress rises, the mind is drawn toward profound questions. What cultures preceded the Inca, and what knowledge did they leave behind? Could there be even older layers beneath the visible terraces, echoing techniques used in civilizations that existed before the last great cataclysms reshaped the earth? The Megaliths of Sacsayhuamán endure as a testament to ingenuity, ambition, and mystery. They invite us to reflect on the possibilities of human knowledge lost to time, the civilizations that may have shaped the foundations upon which history itself was built, and the questions that remain unanswered. Standing among the colossal stones today, one cannot help but wonder, what secrets are encoded in these walls, waiting for the curious, the patient, and the bold to uncover? How much of our past lies hidden beneath the surface, silently preserved in stone, challenging every assumption we hold about the capabilities of our ancestors? Along the banks of this mighty Nile, near the southern edge of Egypt, lies the storied Aswan quarries, vast expanses of granite cliffs that have been worked for millennia. Here, immense blocks of stone, some weighing hundreds of tons, were extracted with remarkable precision, destined for temples, obelisks, and tombs throughout ancient Egypt. Yet, among these quarries lie stones so massive that even modern engineers pause in disbelief, unfinished monoliths abandoned mid-cut, their sheer size defying easy comprehension. One such example, known as the unfinished obelisk, stretches over 42 meters in length and is estimated to weigh around 200 tons. Its presence invites awe, not merely for its magnitude, but for the subtle questions it raises about the capabilities of the people who attempted to shape and move it thousands of years ago. Mainstream archaeology attributes the quarrying efforts to the Egyptians of the New Kingdom, explaining the work through a combination of copper tools, ropes, levers, and sheer manpower. Evidence suggests that the workers carefully measured and chiseled the granite, yet the unfinished obelisk remains a puzzle. It lies in the quarry, split by natural cracks, as if the stone itself resisted completion. How did the workers plan to move such a mass hundreds of kilometers to sites like Carnac or Luxor, across desert sands and the Nile's shifting currents? Could human ingenuity alone account for these feats, or might there have been techniques or knowledge lost to time? The scale of the Aswan megastructures challenges conventional understanding. Many blocks weigh hundreds of tons, yet they were shaped with astounding precision. Surfaces are smooth, angles exact, and some blocks show intricate planning in their cuts and placement. Modern engineers have marveled at the fact that ancient workers could achieve such accuracy without the surveying tools and machinery we rely upon today. Could these methods have been learned through trial and error over centuries, or might they hint at inherited techniques from civilizations predating recorded Egyptian history, perhaps even predating the cataclysms that reshaped human societies? The quarries themselves speak of both ambition and mystery. Vast channels carved into granite cliffs, tool marks etched deep into the stone, and the scale of unfinished projects all suggest a civilization pushing the limits of human capability. The unfinished obelisk, in particular, invites speculation. Was it abandoned because of a critical flaw in the granite, a miscalculation in planning, or an inability to transport it? Or could it reflect a deliberate choice, perhaps ceremonial or symbolic, left incomplete for reasons lost to history? The quarry's massive stones seem to speak silently of skill, ambition, and a world that existed long before our current historical timeline allows. Nearby, smaller blocks show evidence of careful shaping, suggesting knowledge of leverage, weight distribution, and transportation methods. Some researchers have proposed ingenious methods involving wooden sledges lubricated with water, coordinated teams, and the use of the Nile itself to float stones to distant sites. Yet even these explanations struggle to fully account for the largest stones, some weighing over 1,000 tons. How were they planned, positioned, and moved without modern machinery? And if such techniques existed, why are there no detailed records, no surviving blueprints, no acknowledgement of a technological tradition that could accomplish such feats? The cultural and symbolic significance of Aswan's megastones deepens the mystery. Obelisks, temples, and monuments built from these stones were intended to endure for eternity, aligned with the sun, the stars, and the land itself. Was the act of quarrying, shaping, and transporting these enormous blocks purely practical, or was it imbued with ceremonial and spiritual meaning? Some suggest that massive stones served as both literal and symbolic pillars of civilization, connecting heaven and earth, the living and the divine. And if the skill required to work them was inherited from an older, forgotten era, might the quarries themselves represent remnants of knowledge lost in cataclysmic floods or other prehistory-shaping events? Standing in the shadow of the unfinished obelisk, it is impossible not to feel humbled. The massive stone lies prone in the quarry, its polished sides glinting in the sunlight, its sheer bulk dwarfing the modern visitor. Around it, smaller blocks, tool marks, and channels weave a story of extraordinary ambition, meticulous planning, and human persistence. And yet the stone's immobility also speaks of limits, of challenges that could not be overcome, or perhaps of mysteries intentionally left unsolved. The Aswan quarries, with their enormous megastones, remain a profound testament to human ingenuity, perseverance, and the allure of the unknown. They remind us that ancient societies, even those we think we understand, may have possessed knowledge and capabilities that continue to defy explanation. Were these stones the pinnacle of Egyptian engineering, or the continuation of traditions inherited from civilizations that predated even the earliest pharaohs? And what secrets might still be embedded in the quarries, hidden within unfinished stones or in techniques that have vanished with the passage of millennia? As the sun sets over the Nile and casts long shadows across the granite cliffs, one cannot help but wonder how much of our history, our knowledge, and our understanding of human capability has been buried, forgotten, or lost beneath the weight of time. The Aswan megastructures endure, silent and immovable, offering only questions, challenges, and the invitation to imagine a world where the limits of human skill were far broader than we have yet dared to acknowledge. Beneath the crystalline waters of the North Bimini Island coast in the Bahamas lies a formation that has both fascinated and perplexed researchers for decades: the Bimini Road. From above, it appears as a jagged, linear feature stretching roughly 900 meters along the shallow seabed, composed of enormous, rectangular limestone blocks. Diving closer, the stones reveal themselves in more detail. Some are carefully aligned in parallel rows, their edges surprisingly flat, and their placement suggesting intentionality. The arrangement cuts across the ocean floor like a deliberate pathway, a sunken road connecting islands, or perhaps pointing toward something far older and far more enigmatic. Mainstream geology interprets the formation as a natural feature, a collection of beach rock that fractured along natural lines due to ocean currents, erosion, and sediment deposition. Yet the alignment of certain sections, with stones forming long, straight lines and angular intersections, raises questions that pure chance struggles to explain. Could the Bimini Road be a submerged remnant of human construction, a relic of a civilization lost beneath rising seas? If so, it may be far older than conventional archaeology allows, predating known coastal settlements in the Americas and perhaps stretching into the era of pre-flood human activity. The scale and precision of the stones are striking. Many weigh several tons, their faces smoothed by time, yet retaining a geometry that suggests deliberate effort. Unlike other naturally fractured rock formations, the Bimini stones form straight edges, right angles, and patterns that appear purposeful, as if they once formed part of a constructed pathway, platform, or even a harbor. Could humans, or another intelligent culture, have shaped these stones and arranged them with intent? If so, how did they transport and position such massive blocks, and why has no written record survived to explain the project? Excavations and underwater surveys have uncovered further mysteries. Beneath the surface layer, additional stones seem partially buried or interlocked, hinting at multiple phases of construction or use. Marine life clings to the rocks, and coral has grown over them, masking their edges and softening their lines, yet careful observation still reveals patterns that defy natural randomness. Could the Bimini Road have served a ceremonial purpose, a practical function, or even a symbolic gateway connecting land, sea, and sky? And if it was abandoned or submerged by rising oceans, might it represent one of the earliest coastal cities, swallowed by waters in a cataclysmic event that predates recorded history? Local lore adds a further layer of intrigue. Legends speak of Atlantis, the lost island of unparalleled wealth and knowledge, submerged beneath the Atlantic. While these stories cannot be taken as historical fact, they have inspired generations of researchers to consider whether Bimini Road could be a fragment of such a civilization, a tangible trace of a world that vanished beneath the waves. Could the linear formation, the carefully aligned blocks, and the geometric patterns be remnants of knowledge preserved in stone, waiting for rediscovery? Scientific studies have been cautious but curious. Carbon dating of sediments and corals overlying the stones suggests that parts of the formation may have been submerged for thousands of years. If humans built it, we are confronted with a scenario where sophisticated engineering existed in coastal regions far earlier than mainstream narratives recognize. Could rising seas, shifts in climate, or tectonic activity have concealed these constructions, erasing the evidence of cultures advanced enough to build with precision, yet ancient enough to predate known history? The mystery deepens when considering the formation's location. Situated near strong currents and within a dynamic marine environment, the alignment and stability of the stones seem improbable if left to nature alone. Some stones appear to have been deliberately placed to resist shifting tides and currents, hinting at an understanding of hydrodynamics and structural integrity. Was this the work of people with practical engineering knowledge? Or might it reflect the remnants of a ceremonial or symbolic effort, a monument to a civilization whose legacy has been drowned and forgotten? Standing, or rather floating, above Bimini Road, the effect is profound. The ocean filters the sunlight, casting shimmering patterns across the limestone, and the linear path seems to reach into the horizon, a bridge between the known and the unknown. Divers report a sense of quiet mystery, a recognition that they are exploring something both natural and potentially ancient, a feature that occupies the space between geology and archaeology. Each stone, each line, each subtle angle evokes questions about human ingenuity, memory, and the passage of time. The Bimini Road invites us to reconsider what we know about pre-flood civilizations. If submerged cities once lined the coasts of a world before rising oceans reshaped continents, could similar traces exist elsewhere, hidden beneath waves and sediment? And if so, what secrets, engineering methods, societal structures, spiritual practices might remain encoded in stone, waiting for those curious enough to uncover them? As we drift above the formation, tracing its submerged course, one cannot help but feel the pull of deep history. The Bimini Road endures as both a natural marvel and a potential monument to forgotten knowledge. It challenges assumptions, questions accepted timelines, and reminds us that the Earth's surface and human history itself may hold layers of reality far older, far deeper, and far more mysterious than we have yet imagined. What lies beneath the waves, waiting to be rediscovered, still remains a question, an invitation to wonder at the possibility of civilizations lost, yet quietly speaking through the enduring stone beneath the sea. High upon the windswept altiplano of Bolivia, near the shores of the vast Lake Titicaca, stands one of the most enigmatic monuments of the ancient Americas, the Gateway of the Sun at Tiahuanaco. This massive, intricately carved stone archway, constructed from a single piece of andesite weighing over 10 tons, commands the horizon with a presence both solemn and imposing. Its surface is adorned with an array of enigmatic carvings, winged figures, serpentine motifs, and an array of symbols that seem to encode a language of the cosmos itself. Even today, the gateway exudes a sense of purpose and sophistication that challenges conventional understandings of ancient architecture. Archaeologists date Tiahuanaco's urban core to roughly 500 to 900 AD. Yet the precision, scale, and craftsmanship of the Gateway of the Sun suggest knowledge and techniques far beyond what is expected of the era. Mainstream studies describe the stone as carved using hammerstones and chisels, yet the sheer accuracy of the reliefs, the depth, symmetry, and alignment, suggests skills honed over generations, perhaps inherited from an earlier, lost culture. Could this monument preserve echoes of a civilization predating the Andes known timeline, a culture whose wisdom was encoded in stone for posterity? The iconography of the gateway provokes deep questions. The central figure, often interpreted as the deity Viracocha, is surrounded by what appear to be radiant rays and attendant symbols, each precise and deliberate. Scholars debate the meaning. Some see astronomical references, perhaps marking solstices, equinoxes, or cycles of celestial bodies. Others propose cosmological narratives, recording creation myths or sacred rituals. Could the carvings have functioned as a calendar, a map, or even a repository of mathematical knowledge, hidden in plain sight for those capable of reading the symbols? Equally mysterious is the construction itself. The archway was quarried, transported, and shaped with astonishing precision. The stone is not native to the immediate site. It was brought from quarries several kilometers away, across a high-altitude plateau where oxygen is thin and terrain rugged. How did ancient engineers, using only tools available at the time, move and manipulate such a massive monolith with the exactitude required to produce the detailed reliefs? Could it be that lost techniques, passed down from civilizations even older than Tiahuanaco itself, guided the hands that shaped this stone? The positioning of the Gateway of the Sun within the city is equally deliberate. It aligns with the ceremonial plaza, suggesting a connection between the terrestrial and the celestial. Scholars have noted that the structure may have been part of a larger astronomical schema designed to mark solar cycles, lunar events, or even the movements of Venus. Was this alignment coincidental, or did it reflect knowledge inherited from earlier societies, perhaps a civilization that thrived before the floods and cataclysms recorded in myth and legend? And if so, what other monuments across the globe share this knowledge, echoing similar geometric precision and cosmic awareness? Further intrigue arises from the symbolism carved into the stone. Many motifs suggest duality, cycles, and repetition, concepts that recur across ancient cultures worldwide. The wings, serpents, and faces seem not only decorative but intentional, perhaps encoding sacred, scientific, or calendrical knowledge. Could these carvings represent a form of early writing, a coded record of events or instructions meant to guide future generations? If so, what was the purpose of preserving such knowledge in stone, and what secrets have we yet to decode? The site's preservation adds another layer of fascination. Despite centuries of exposure to high-altitude winds, freezing nights, and intense sunlight, the Gateway of the Sun retains remarkable detail. The precision with which each line and relief survives today speaks to the durability of both material and method. Could the builders have possessed insights into stone durability, weathering, and long-term stability that surpassed what modern engineers would expect from their tools? And if so, what inspired such careful foresight, and what does it tell us about the society that created it? Walking through the archway today, one cannot help but feel a profound sense of continuity. The massive stones, the intricate carvings, and the deliberate orientation connect us with minds and hands long vanished. The gateway seems to whisper of civilizations lost to time, their knowledge preserved not in books or scrolls, but in stone, designed to endure floods, earthquakes, and centuries of obscurity. Could Tiahuanaco have been built upon even older foundations? A city that integrates the wisdom of pre-flood cultures into its very stones? The Gateway of the Sun remains a monument to both human ingenuity and enduring mystery. Each observation raises further questions. Who carved these symbols, and why were they left for future generations to decipher? What knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, or spirituality might be hidden within the lines and faces that cover the archway? And most intriguingly, could this be part of a global network of megalithic structures, evidence of a widespread understanding that predates known history and hints at civilizations now lost beneath time, sand, and floodwaters? As the sun rises and casts its light across the carved surface, the Gateway of the Sun seems to animate, revealing both its artistry and its enigma. It challenges our assumptions, sparks curiosity, and reminds us that history, perhaps, is deeper and stranger than we have yet imagined. What remains hidden within Tiahuanaco and within other ancient sites across the world invites us to wonder, to explore, and to seek connections that might bridge the known past with civilizations lost to pre-flood cataclysms. Nestled at the base of the Great Pyramid of Giza, along the path leading from the Nile to the majestic mortuary complex, lies Khafre's Valley Temple, a monument of stone that exudes both solemnity and silent mystery. Constructed from massive blocks of limestone and granite, some weighing dozens of tons, the temple presents an architectural harmony that is both precise and enigmatic. From the moment one approaches, the scale, alignment, and craftsmanship command attention. Walls so straight and perfectly jointed that the seams are nearly invisible, polished surfaces reflecting the desert sun, and massive columns supporting ceilings that seem to float above the observer. Mainstream Egyptology situates the temple's construction around 2570 BC, during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, serving as a place for ritual preparation of the king's body before burial in the pyramid itself. Yet, the precision and durability of the stonework have prompted scholars and engineers alike to pause. How did ancient builders manage to cut, transport, and place stones of such enormous size with the exactness we see today without modern machinery? And more intriguingly, could the methods employed reflect knowledge passed down from an earlier, now lost civilization, one that predates even the Old Kingdom of Egypt? The interior of Khafre's Valley Temple is equally captivating. Massive granite blocks form the inner sanctum, some polished to mirror-like smoothness, others fitted with joints so precise that even a thin blade cannot be inserted. These blocks, quarried from distant locations, were transported across miles of desert, a feat that still baffles engineers attempting to replicate it. Were these monoliths moved purely through human ingenuity, or might the builders have employed techniques now forgotten, perhaps learned from traditions predating the floods and cataclysms recorded in ancient mythologies. Equally mysterious are the temple's alignments and layout. Every corridor, hall, and sanctuary appears to follow geometric principles, with proportions that echo both cosmic order and practical function. Some researchers suggest astronomical correlations, noting that certain passages align with the rising sun or specific stars at key times of the year. Could Khafre's architects have embedded knowledge of celestial cycles into the very stones, creating a temple that functioned not only as a ritual space, but also as a sophisticated astronomical observatory? And if so, how much of this knowledge was inherited from cultures older than recorded history, perhaps lost in the great upheavals that reshaped the planet long ago? The craftsmanship of Khafre's Valley Temple hints at extraordinary planning and skill. Each massive stone is carefully leveled, polished, and fitted with precision that endures millennia of earthquakes, sandstorms, and erosion. The sheer labor required to move these stones, some weighing upwards of 60 tons, across uneven terrain from quarries far away, suggests either unprecedented human organization or techniques not fully understood today. Could these methods hint at a continuity of knowledge spanning generations, preserved in tools, techniques, or even esoteric traditions that have since vanished? Beyond its engineering marvels, the temple carries symbolic significance. Carvings and architectural features suggest an emphasis on the journey of the soul, the preparation for the afterlife, and a profound connection between the king, the land, and the cosmos. The placement of the temple along the causeway leading to Khafre's pyramid reinforces this idea, creating a physical and spiritual link between the earthly and the divine. Yet one must wonder, were these rituals purely cultural, or did the temple's design also encode lost scientific, mathematical, or astronomical knowledge, hidden in plain sight for those able to interpret it? The temple's durability and precision provoke further questions. While many contemporary structures from the same period have eroded or crumbled, Khafre's Valley Temple endures almost intact, a testament to both the skill of its builders and the quality of its construction. Could this resilience suggest techniques derived from civilizations far older than the known pharaohs? Civilizations whose knowledge was incorporated into monumental projects across the Nile Valley? And if these methods were passed down, might other monuments, such as the Sphinx, the Great Pyramid, or the quarries of Aswan, reflect similar continuity, connecting sites separated by time and geography? Exploring the temple today, one cannot escape the sensation of standing at a crossroads of history and mystery. The massive stones, polished surfaces, and precise alignments provoke awe, while the unanswered questions about their origins, construction, and purpose stir curiosity. Each wall, each corridor, and each monolithic block seems to whisper of intentions long forgotten, of knowledge buried beneath the sands of time, and of a civilization whose reach may extend far beyond what conventional history allows. Khafre's Valley Temple remains both a monument to human ingenuity and an enigma that challenges understanding. Who first conceived such an enduring structure, and what knowledge guided its creation? Could the temple be a repository of wisdom inherited from civilizations predating the Great Flood, a coded message carved into stone for generations yet to come? And most provocatively, what other secrets of engineering, astronomy, or lost human history might lie hidden, waiting to be rediscovered within the temple's enduring walls? As the sun sets over the Giza plateau, casting long shadows across polished granite and limestone, Khafre's Valley Temple seems to breathe history itself. Silent yet eloquent, it invites reflection, curiosity, and wonder. It challenges assumptions, bridging the known and unknown, and reminds us that the story of human ingenuity may stretch far deeper into prehistory than the annals of recorded history can capture. What remains hidden within its massive stones and across the landscapes of ancient Egypt continues to beckon the curious, the patient, and the bold toward discovery, toward understanding, and toward the mysteries of civilizations long lost beneath the sands of time. Rising above the bustling streets of modern Cusco, Peru, the remnants of an ancient city whisper of a time when stone itself seemed alive with intent. The megalithic walls that form the core of the city are unlike any ordinary masonry. Here, massive stones, some weighing over 100 tons, are fitted together with astonishing precision, their edges interlocking so seamlessly that not even a blade can be inserted between them. The sheer scale, craftsmanship, and endurance of these walls evoke questions that extend far beyond conventional history, hinting at a knowledge and skill that challenge our understanding of ancient construction. Archaeologists date much of Cusco's architecture to the Inca period, roughly 13th to 16th centuries AD, yet the precision of the masonry, particularly in the city's oldest sectors, has inspired a debate that reaches back into deep time. The polygonal stones, shaped to fit in complex interwoven patterns, show no uniform size or simple repetition. Each stone appears to have been meticulously carved to fit its neighbors perfectly. How was it possible for human hands, using only rudimentary tools, to achieve such precision on stones so massive and irregularly shaped? Could these techniques have been inherited from an older pre-Inca civilization, one that thrived long before recorded history, perhaps even before the cataclysmic floods described in myths around the world? The walls of Sacsayhuamán, part of the greater Cusco complex, are particularly striking. Massive stones rise in terraces, some exceeding 8 meters in height. The scale of the construction is staggering, yet what truly captivates is the engineering intelligence embedded within. The polygonal stones were fitted without mortar, designed to withstand earthquakes and shifting foundations over centuries. Mainstream explanations cite trial and error, ingenuity, and brute force. But could such precise earthquake-resistant construction have emerged in isolation, or does it hint at techniques handed down from civilizations far older than the Inca themselves, possibly connecting to a broader pre-flood knowledge of stonecraft and stability? Adding to the mystery is the method of transport. Many of the largest stones are quarried several kilometers away, atop rugged Andean slopes. Without modern machinery, how were stones of this magnitude moved and positioned with such exactitude? Were they rolled on logs, dragged across inclined plains, or floated along rivers, as some theories suggest? And if so, how did builders anticipate the intricate fit required for each polygonal stone? Might there have been knowledge of geometry, leverage, and weight distribution that exceeds the understanding attributed to civilizations of the pre-Columbian Andes? The walls themselves tell a story through their form. Unlike regular masonry, the interlocking stones display irregular polygonal shapes that absorb and distribute seismic energy. Each joint appears to have been conceived with not just structural, but perhaps symbolic intent. Could these walls encode astronomical, spiritual, or mathematical knowledge passed down through generations? Did the builders understand principles of physics and design that have been forgotten, preserved only in the silent language of stone? And if such knowledge existed, what circumstances led to its concealment, leaving us to rediscover fragments in cities like Cusco centuries later? Local legends and oral traditions further deepen the intrigue. The Incas revered Cusco as the navel of the world, a sacred center connecting the earth and the heavens. The megalithic walls, many of which predate the city's recorded history, could have served as both defensive structures and ceremonial platforms. Might they have been remnants of an even older civilization, whose understanding of stone, astronomy, and ritual had been encoded into the urban fabric of the city? And if so, how much of this knowledge was deliberately preserved, and how much was lost over time, swallowed by conquest, climate, and the slow erosion of memory? The precision and durability of Cusco's megalithic walls evoke a quiet awe. Standing before them, one can feel the weight of centuries, the skill of countless hands, and the echo of techniques that seem almost otherworldly. Every stone, every joint, every terrace speaks to an intelligence that transcends simple construction, a legacy of ingenuity that endures despite the passage of time. Could these walls, like other megalithic sites across the globe, represent the remnants of civilizations that existed before the Great Flood? Civilizations whose achievements were lost to the rising waters and shifting sands of prehistory? As sunlight traces the contours of each polygonal stone, shadows reveal the subtle complexity of the masonry. The walls appear simultaneously practical and enigmatic, resisting the forces of nature while inviting reflection on the civilization that conceived them. What methods, knowledge, and traditions allowed humans to achieve such feats in a world without modern tools? And more provocatively, what other structures, now buried or destroyed, might await discovery, offering further insight into the capabilities of our distant ancestors? The megalithic walls of Cusco endure as both fortification and monument, a tangible reminder of human ingenuity and a silent witness to mysteries that time has not yet unraveled. They challenge assumptions, inspire curiosity, and connect us to a continuum of knowledge that may extend far beyond recorded history. What lies hidden within their precise joints and massive stones, technical mastery, spiritual insight, or knowledge lost in the cataclysms of prehistory, remains one of the enduring questions, inviting all who gaze upon them to ponder the civilizations that shaped our world long before the first written word. On the remote, windswept cliffs of Rapa Nui, better known as Easter Island, a silent army stands guard. Hundreds of colossal stone figures, the Moai, rise from the earth, their solemn faces staring inland as if keeping eternal watch over a lost civilization. Carved from volcanic tuff, each statue ranges from 3 to over 10 meters in height, with some weighing more than 80 tons. Their elongated heads, deep-set eyes, and imposing torsos evoke a sense of presence that transcends mere artistry, suggesting that they were created with purpose far beyond decoration or symbolism. The Moai are conventionally dated between 1250 and 1500 AD, attributed to the Rapa Nui people. Yet their construction and transportation continue to provoke debate. The statues were carved from quarries at Rano Raraku, then moved miles across rugged terrain to their ceremonial platforms, the Ahu. Mainstream archaeology credits ingenious methods using ropes, wooden sledges, and log rollers. Yet the scale, precision, and quantity of the Moai challenge the limits of these explanations. How could a relatively small population transport such enormous stones with such remarkable accuracy, aligning them precisely atop platforms that resist earthquakes and erosion for centuries? Could some knowledge or technique from an earlier lost culture, perhaps even predating the known history of the island, have guided their creation? Each Moai seems to carry an encoded story. Some feature intricate carvings on the backs, depicting motifs whose meanings are lost to time. Could these symbols represent genealogies, celestial alignments, or spiritual narratives passed down from an ancient people who understood astronomy, mathematics, or the cycles of the cosmos in ways we are only beginning to imagine? And if so, why were such profound secrets preserved in stone, facing inland as if safeguarding knowledge rather than merely commemorating ancestors? Even more perplexing is the precision of their placement. Rows of Moai stretch along the coastline in patterns that appear intentional, aligned with cardinal points or subtle shifts in elevation. Some researchers have speculated that the Moai acted as markers, indicators of water sources, or points within a larger ritual or astronomical grid. Could they have functioned as an observatory, a celestial calendar, or a warning system, encoded into the landscape with knowledge that may trace back to civilizations that existed before the rising seas reshaped the planet? The methods of carving and erecting the moai remain a source of speculation. The volcanic stone is dense, yet it has been shaped into figures with a harmony of proportions and balance that seems extraordinary for the tools available at the time. Some statues stand upright on platforms with barely perceptible gaps beneath them, resisting the forces of gravity, wind, and occasional seismic activity. How did ancient builders achieve such stability? Was it trial and error refined over generations, or did it reflect techniques inherited from ancestors who possessed engineering knowledge lost to the flood of history? Local legends add layers of fascination. Oral traditions speak of the moai walking into position, an expression that may metaphorically describe methods now forgotten or hint at the enigmatic power of the people who raised them. Could these stories preserve memories of technologies or methods used to move enormous stones with minimal resources, techniques now obscured by centuries of oral transmission? And if so, what other lessons about human ingenuity and the mastery of megalithic construction remain hidden, waiting to be rediscovered? The moai's enduring mystery extends beyond their construction to their purpose. They face inland, gazing over the villages and fertile fields, suggesting guardianship or spiritual oversight. Their imposing forms create a sense of connection between the people, the land, and the ancestors. Yet the depth of meaning is lost to time. Were they purely ceremonial, or did they also serve as repositories of knowledge, celestial guides, or markers of pre-flood memory embedded in stone? Could the alignment and scale of the statues indicate an awareness of Earth's cycles, tides, or even long-lost knowledge of cataclysmic events? Standing among the moai today, one cannot help but sense the weight of history and mystery combined. The statues seem both static and alive, monumental yet intimately connected to the land they oversee. The volcanic cliffs, the distant ocean, and the wind that sweeps across the island all frame these figures in a setting that feels deliberately sacred, deliberately engineered, and profoundly enigmatic. Could Easter Island itself have been a refuge for knowledge preserved from pre-flood times, a laboratory of cultural memory, or a sacred repository for skills that civilizations elsewhere once possessed? The mystery of the moai invites reflection and imagination. They challenge our assumptions about ancient human capability, urging us to reconsider timelines, methods, and the potential reach of civilizations lost to cataclysmic events. Each stone, each line of the carving, each placement along the shore asks questions without answers. Who carved these figures with such precision? How were they transported and positioned with such accuracy? And what knowledge, now buried in the past, did these stones silently carry across centuries? As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the island, the moai watch silently, their presence both commanding and enigmatic. They are reminders that human ingenuity may have reached extraordinary heights long before recorded history, and that knowledge, encoded in stone, can survive millennia, even as civilizations rise and fall. What secrets do these silent sentinels still hold, hidden beneath layers of history, waiting for those patient enough to uncover the traces of civilizations that may have existed before the Great Flood, shaping the world we inherit today? Across the windswept plains of Brittany and northwestern France, the landscape is punctuated by an extraordinary sight. Thousands of towering stones, arranged in meticulous rows that stretch as far as the eye can see. These are the Menhirs of Carnac, a sprawling collection of upright megaliths whose purpose and origins remain shrouded in mystery. Some stones rise more than 4 meters high, each one carved, transported, and positioned with an intent that continues to puzzle scholars and engineers alike. From a distance, the alignments appear almost geometric, as if the land itself had been measured and orchestrated to reflect a hidden order known only to the builders. Archaeologists date the Carnac stones to roughly 4500 to 3300 BC, placing them within the Neolithic period. Yet the scale, uniformity, and apparent precision of the alignments raise questions that challenge conventional timelines. How could communities of farmers, armed with only simple tools and rudimentary organization, arrange thousands of massive stones over several kilometers with such apparent intentionality? Were these stones merely markers, or did they serve a function far greater than we currently comprehend? A function perhaps inherited from civilizations that existed long before recorded history, possibly even before the cataclysmic floods chronicled in global myths. Walking among the rows, one is struck by the subtle variations in size, shape, and spacing of the stones. Some are solitary, standing apart as if to mark special points, while others form dense alignments stretching like stone highways across the plain. Scholars have long debated their purpose. Were they ritual sites, astronomical observatories, territorial markers, or repositories of ancient knowledge? Some alignments correspond with the solstices and other celestial events, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of the sky. Could these megaliths represent an early calendar system, encoded in stone for generations to interpret? And if so, who first conceived such precision? And what knowledge did they inherit from earlier, now lost civilizations? Transporting and erecting these massive stones would have required extraordinary planning and coordination. The granite and sandstone megaliths, quarried from nearby sites, were often moved over uneven terrain, lifted, and positioned with incredible care. Conventional explanations cite wooden sledges, ropes, and sheer human effort, but the uniformity and endurance of these structures hint at methods that may have been more advanced than we assume. Could knowledge of leverage, balance, and structural engineering, perhaps passed down from a pre-flood culture, have guided their placement? The arrangement of the Carnac menhirs also invites speculation about symbolic meaning. Certain rows converge, diverge, or form circular patterns that might have held ritualistic or spiritual significance. Some researchers suggest the alignments could encode narratives of cosmology, creation, or ancestral memory, preserved for posterity in a language of stone rather than script. Could these silent monoliths have functioned as a form of storytelling, conveying wisdom, warnings, or sacred knowledge that has been lost over millennia? Even the landscape itself seems to play a role in the mystery. The stones are not scattered randomly. They follow contours, avoid certain elevations, and sometimes point toward distant horizons or celestial markers. Could the builders have perceived the land as a canvas, integrating topography, geology, and sky to convey meaning or to harness energy in ways we no longer understand? And if such understanding existed, how much of it was a local innovation, and how much might trace back to a shared knowledge once held by pre-flood civilizations across the globe? Local legend and folklore add another layer to the enigma. Stories speak of giants, ancient priests, or supernatural beings responsible for placing the stones, hinting at a memory of extraordinary strength or technology beyond the scope of ordinary humans. Are these myths simply metaphorical, or do they preserve echoes of techniques, knowledge, or cultural memory inherited from ancestors whose achievements have been lost to time and inundation? Standing among the menhirs today, the sense of scale and intentionality is overwhelming. The stones, weathered by millennia of wind and rain, exude a quiet power, a testament to the skill and determination of their builders. Yet for all their solidity, the megaliths pose questions that remain unanswered. Why were they erected in these precise configurations? What knowledge, spiritual insight, or cosmic understanding motivated such an enormous effort? And most provocatively, could these stones, like other megalithic sites around the world, be fragments of a forgotten network of wisdom that predates recorded history, hinting at civilizations that survived and perhaps perished before the Great Flood reshaped the world? The Menhirs of Carnac, silent and enduring, challenge our perception of the Neolithic era and of humanity's capacity for ingenuity. They compel reflection on the continuity of knowledge, the mysteries embedded in the landscape, and the possibility that our understanding of history is only a fragment of a far grander story. What secrets remain hidden within these aligned stones, geometric, astronomical, or spiritual, that might reveal the skills, beliefs, and legacies of a civilization lost to pre-flood cataclysms? As the wind sweeps across the Breton plain, rustling grass between the towering menhirs, the stones seem to resonate with a quiet, enigmatic presence. They beckon the curious, the patient, and the observant to ponder not only their construction and purpose, but also the civilization that first envisioned them. Could these megaliths represent a memory of knowledge preserved across millennia, waiting for those who dare to decode the silent language of stone, to glimpse the wisdom of a world that existed long before recorded history, and perhaps even before the Great Flood reshaped the earth? On the sun-baked islands of Malta, scattered across rocky terrain and ancient soil, rise some of the oldest freestanding stone structures in the world, the megalithic temples. These enigmatic monuments, with their circular enclosures, massive limestone blocks, and intricate altars, stand as silent witnesses to a civilization whose sophistication seems to exceed the technological expectations of its time. Walking among the ruins of Hagar-Chim, Menajdra, or Tarxian, one is immediately struck by the precision of construction and the careful planning evident in every stone. Some blocks weigh several tons, yet they are fitted with remarkable exactitude, forming walls, chambers, and passageways that have survived millennia of weathering, earthquakes, and human activity. Mainstream archaeology places the construction of these temples between 3600 and 2500 BC, attributing them to prehistoric Maltese communities. Yet the craftsmanship suggests more than simple stone stacking. The walls are built with interlocking blocks, some shaped with complex angles, designed to support weight and resist collapse. Some chambers feature corbelled ceilings and carved altars that indicate ritualistic purpose. But the scale of effort, the precise geometry, and the selection of massive megaliths prompt a deeper question. Could these temples represent knowledge inherited from an even earlier era, a time long before the first known civilizations of the Mediterranean? Could they be remnants of a pre-flood society, preserved against the tides of time and catastrophe? Approaching the Menajdra complex, one notices how the temple is aligned with the sun. During solstices and equinoxes, light penetrates the sacred chambers in patterns that suggest a sophisticated understanding of astronomy. This precise solar alignment raises questions. Did the builders simply observe seasonal cycles, or did they possess a more advanced awareness of celestial mechanics? And if so, could such knowledge have been passed down from civilizations that predate the rise of agriculture, dynasties, and recorded history? Transporting and carving these stones remains a mystery in itself. Many of the limestone blocks were sourced from quarries several kilometers away, yet they were positioned with incredible accuracy in the temple foundations. Some blocks featured joints so precise that mortar was unnecessary, a technique that resonates with other megalithic sites across the globe, from the walls of Cusco to the pyramids of Giza. Is this a coincidence, or does it hint at a shared knowledge or method, a global tradition of stonecraft that survived floods, migrations, and the erosion of civilizations? The temple's interiors are equally compelling. The curved walls and intricate passageways suggest an advanced understanding of acoustics, light, and ritual movement. Certain altars feature circular depressions, possibly used in ceremonies, while some carvings resemble symbolic motifs that might have encoded spiritual or astronomical knowledge. Could these temples have served as more than ceremonial centers, perhaps as repositories of knowledge, observatories, or even laboratories of understanding, preserved in stone for generations to come? Local legend and folklore add an additional layer to the mystery. Tales speak of gods, giants, or supernatural forces shaping the islands and their stones. While modern archaeology seeks practical explanations, these myths may encode distant memories of extraordinary skill, inherited technologies, or even pre-flood knowledge passed down in oral traditions. Could the stories of divine builders or colossal efforts reflect glimpses of techniques now lost, echoes of a civilization whose influence stretched far beyond Malta? The durability and design of the temples are remarkable. Some walls stand nearly 4 meters high, carved with tools that would have required immense patience and expertise. Their endurance, through centuries of natural and human forces, speaks to methods that are both practical and intentional. Could these builders have inherited principles of engineering and stability from an earlier, forgotten civilization, one that existed before the world was reshaped by flood and upheaval? Standing among the ruins today, the temples evoke both awe and contemplation. Each stone, each alignment, each chamber seems deliberately placed, hinting at purpose, knowledge, and perhaps even a philosophy of harmony with the cosmos. The more one studies these structures, the more one realizes that they are not merely buildings, they are messages encoded in stone, inviting us to decipher their secrets and to understand the civilization that created them. Could the architects of Malta's temples have been part of a global network of pre-flood builders, sharing knowledge and traditions that later civilizations only glimpsed through fragments and myth? The megalithic temples of Malta remain a testament to human ingenuity and the enduring mysteries of our past. They challenge assumptions about the capabilities of prehistoric peoples, inviting us to reconsider timelines, methods, and the extent of knowledge lost to time. What secrets lie hidden in the precise geometry, the solar alignments, and the massive stones themselves? What wisdom was preserved within these walls, waiting patiently for a future that could finally perceive its significance? As the Mediterranean sun casts long shadows across the ancient limestone, the temples seem to pulse with quiet energy, silent yet profound. They beckon the observer to ponder not only the people who built them, but the civilizations that may have existed before them, shaping knowledge, ritual, and architecture in ways we are only beginning to understand. What remains buried in the collective memory of the earth, preserved in stone and legend, waiting for those willing to follow the trail of pre-flood ingenuity across the globe? Beneath the sunlit plains of Malta lies a hidden world, carved deep into the earth, silent yet profoundly evocative. The Hypogeum of Ħal-Saflieni is not a temple of stone raised toward the sky, but a subterranean labyrinth, a network of chambers, corridors, and altars hewn directly from the limestone bedrock. Stepping into its depths is like descending into another dimension. The air grows cooler, the light dims, and every surface is etched with the fingerprints of ancient hands. It is a place of stillness, of reverence, and of mystery, a vault of memory that has endured for more than 5 millennia, predating much of recorded history. Archaeologists date the Hypogeum to around 4,000–2,500 BC, placing it contemporaneously with Malta's surface megalithic temples. Yet, unlike those sunlit monuments, the Hypogeum challenges understanding in ways that seem almost impossible. Its lower levels are carved with remarkable precision, forming chambers that align with natural acoustics, creating resonant spaces that amplify and modulate sound in a way modern engineers still marvel at. How could Neolithic builders, using rudimentary tools, achieve such perfection in stone, underground and across multiple tiers? Was this merely an advanced understanding of construction, or could it hint at techniques and knowledge inherited from civilizations even older, perhaps those predating the great floods that reshaped human memory? The purpose of the Hypogeum remains enigmatic. It appears to have been both a burial site and a ritual space, housing the remains of thousands of individuals. But it is not merely a repository for the dead. Its chambers, corridors, and apses seem deliberately designed to guide movement, light, and sound, suggesting a spiritual or ceremonial function that transcends simple mortuary practice. Some scholars speculate that the resonance of certain chambers could have enhanced chants or ritual music, perhaps facilitating altered states of consciousness or spiritual experiences. Could the Hypogeum have been a center for profound knowledge, a place where the living sought to commune with the unseen or understand the cosmos? The engineering alone is remarkable. Narrow corridors connect larger chambers, some featuring corbelled ceilings and precision-carved stone blocks that fit perfectly without mortar. The Hypogeum's lower levels descend 3 stories underground, yet the structure has withstood millennia of shifting earth and seismic activity. How did builders anticipate the stability of such a complex subterranean structure without modern calculations? Was it purely empirical, honed through trial and error, or could these ancient architects have inherited advanced principles of geology, structural integrity, and resonance from a culture lost to the depths of prehistory? Even the symbolic elements carved into the walls are tantalizing. Stylized spirals, animal motifs, and abstract designs adorn some chambers, their meaning lost to time. Could these carvings encode spiritual, astronomical, or mathematical knowledge? Were they mnemonic devices, tools for teaching, or perhaps messages intended for initiates with understanding beyond the ordinary? And if such knowledge existed, might it connect to other megalithic sites across the globe, from Malta's temples to the Moai of Easter Island, or the Menhirs of Carnac, suggesting a shared tradition or a memory of civilizations that flourished before the cataclysms of ancient floods? The Hypogeum also raises questions about social organization. Coordinating the labor, quarrying the stone, and carving intricate chambers would have required not only skill but leadership, planning, and a vision that extended across generations. How did such a society organize itself to achieve these feats? Was it the result of gradual innovation, or did the builders inherit knowledge and methods from a culture that had already mastered the manipulation of megalithic stone and subterranean space? Descending deeper, one notices the deliberate relationship between space, light, and sound. Certain chambers are illuminated by shafts that allow sunlight to penetrate only at specific times of the year, reminiscent of Malta's surface temples with their solstitial alignments. Could the Hypogeum have functioned as an astronomical observatory, a calendar, or a spiritual timekeeper, its design encoding both celestial events and human ritual? And if so, what other truths, erased by flood and time, were preserved in this underground sanctuary? Walking through the shadowed corridors today, it is impossible not to feel a profound connection to the hands that shaped the stone thousands of years ago. Every block, every curve, every chamber speaks to an intelligence both practical and symbolic, a fusion of engineering and spirituality that transcends simple burial practices. It is a place that invites reflection, demanding patience and attention, a subterranean archive of human ingenuity and belief that has survived millennia largely untouched. Yet for all its clarity of design and engineering, the Hypogeum keeps its deepest secrets. The identity of the builders, the full extent of their knowledge, and the precise meaning of its chambers remain elusive. What inspired them to descend into the earth to create such a complex? Was it purely ritual, purely technical, or a combination of both? Could the Hypogeum be a fragment of a pre-flood world, a repository of wisdom and practice preserved through catastrophe, a window into civilizations whose traces are scattered across continents? As one emerges from the shadowed depths, the sunlight of Malta's plains seems almost surreal. Above ground, the megalithic temples glisten in the sun. Below, the Hypogeum holds its silent guardianship over forgotten knowledge. Together they speak of a people whose skills, understanding, and reverence for stone, space, and time challenge our assumptions about prehistoric humanity. What lies hidden in the lower chambers, etched into walls, or encoded in their acoustic resonance, remains unanswered, inviting those willing to listen to the stones to ponder the civilizations that may have thrived long before recorded history, and perhaps even before the Great Flood reshaped the world we now inhabit. Across the mist-laden hills and fertile valleys of the Korean peninsula, one encounters an enigmatic sight. Massive stone slabs, often weighing several tons, balanced with uncanny precision atop smaller supporting stones. These are the Dolmens of Korea, silent witnesses to an era that predates written history, their sheer size and complexity hinting at an intelligence and organization that challenges conventional timelines. Stretching across landscapes both remote and accessible, these megalithic tombs form patterns that suggest ritualistic, astronomical, or territorial significance, yet their exact purpose remains shrouded in mystery. Standing before one, it is impossible not to sense the weight, not just of the stone itself, but of the centuries of human intention and unknown knowledge embedded within it. Archaeologists date many Korean dolmens to between 1000 BC and 3000 BC, placing them firmly in the Bronze Age. Yet even within this framework, the scale and precision of construction are perplexing. The enormous capstones, some exceeding 20 tons, were quarried, transported, and set atop supporting stones without the aid of modern machinery. How was such a feat achieved? Could it have been sheer human effort guided by rudimentary tools? Or might these builders have inherited techniques from a lost pre-flood culture, whose methods of megalithic construction have been erased from collective memory? The dolmens come in various forms, table-like structures known as table dolmens, and more complex chambered varieties. Some align with the movements of the sun, moon, or stars, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of celestial cycles. Did the builders encode knowledge of the heavens in stone, creating monuments that functioned as calendars or astronomical markers? And if so, might these alignments connect Korea's megalithic sites with others across the globe, from the Menhirs of Carnac to Malta's temples, hinting at a shared architectural or cosmological tradition long forgotten? Transporting and erecting such massive stones would have required not only physical labor but also social organization and planning. Some dolmens are clustered, forming necropolises that cover extensive terrain, indicating coordinated effort across generations. What society could sustain such long-term projects, and what knowledge guided their execution? Could it be that these communities preserved, through practice and oral tradition, a technical wisdom inherited from a civilization that existed before the Great Floods reshaped the world's cultures? Many dolmens contain burial remains, pottery, and artifacts, suggesting ritualistic significance. Yet beyond the funerary function, the deliberate placement and orientation of stones provoke deeper questions. Some are oriented toward prominent natural features, mountains, or rivers. Others align with cardinal directions, hinting at a symbolic or energetic purpose. Were these megaliths simply markers of the dead, or were they part of a broader spiritual or cosmic schema designed to link earth, sky, and human experience in ways now obscured by time? The precision and endurance of the dolmens evoke questions about technique. How were stones lifted, balanced, and stabilized in a way that has allowed them to survive millennia? Some stones exhibit smooth surfaces and tight joints, almost as if shaped to interlock, reminiscent of other pre-flood megalithic structures from distant continents. Could there have been a shared methodology or a lost technology that enabled these builders, despite their apparent simplicity, to accomplish feats that modern engineers still find impressive? Legends and folklore in Korea speak of giants, gods, and supernatural forces responsible for moving and placing these immense stones. While some dismiss these stories as mere myth, could they instead encode distant memories of extraordinary human capability, or even fragments of knowledge passed down from pre-flood civilizations whose scope we are only beginning to glimpse? These narratives, like the stones themselves, resist easy explanation, leaving us to wonder what truths might be concealed behind metaphor and memory. Walking among these silent monoliths, one becomes aware of scale and intention. Each dolmen is not an isolated object, but part of a wider landscape, embedded in terrain that suggests deliberate choice of site, orientation, and context. The stones seem to speak to a holistic understanding of environment, ritual, and the cosmos, preserved in forms that endure long after the builders themselves have vanished. Could these monuments be a testament to a global memory, scattered across continents, encoding knowledge that survived catastrophic floods and the erosion of civilizations? Even today, the dolmens invite reflection on what has been lost to time. They challenge assumptions about prehistoric societies, compelling us to consider the skills, knowledge, and cultural sophistication required to shape stone on such a monumental scale. What methods, tools, or inherited wisdom allowed these communities to achieve their astonishing constructions? And more intriguingly, what might these silent stones reveal about the civilizations that existed before recorded history, and perhaps before the great deluge that reshaped the world? As the morning mist rises from the valleys and sunlight glints off ancient limestone and granite, the dolmens exude a quiet, enigmatic presence. They are more than markers of the dead. They are monuments to human ingenuity, memory, and perhaps a forgotten connection to a wider pre-flood network of megalithic knowledge. The questions they pose remain unanswered, yet they beckon the observer to contemplate the extraordinary capabilities of their builders. What secrets lie hidden in the capstones, alignments, and clustering of these megaliths? And might these secrets, like whispers from the distant past, offer insight into civilizations that flourished long before history was recorded and before the Great Flood reshaped the Earth's surface and memory? Nestled amidst the rugged slopes and forested valleys of the North Caucasus, one encounters a landscape dotted with silent sentinels, the dolmens of the Caucasus. These ancient stone structures, often rectangular or circular in shape, are constructed with massive slabs, some weighing several tons, arranged with a precision that seems almost impossible for the technology of their era. Shrouded in mist and framed by the dramatic peaks of the mountains, the dolmens stand as enduring testaments to human ingenuity, ritual, and mystery. Approaching them, the visitor is struck not only by their size but by the deliberate arrangement of space, orientation, and form. They are monuments that demand contemplation, inviting one to ponder the hands that carved, lifted, and positioned these stones millennia ago. Archaeologists date many of these dolmens between 3000 BC and 1000 BC, though some estimates suggest that certain structures may be even older. Unlike simpler burial sites, these dolmens often feature interior chambers, corbelled roofs, and finely fitted stones, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of construction and stability. How were these enormous slabs transported across rugged terrain and elevated into place without modern tools? Could the builders have relied on simple mechanical ingenuity alone? Or might their knowledge derive from a deeper, pre-flood tradition, a global memory of megalithic expertise now scattered across continents. The function of these dolmens remains a subject of fascination. While many contain burial remains and grave goods, including pottery, tools, and ornaments, the deliberate positioning and orientation of the stones hint at a broader purpose. Some align with celestial events, such as solstices or lunar cycles, implying that the builders observed the heavens with great care. Could these structures have functioned as astronomical markers, sacred sites, or even repositories of knowledge designed to encode cosmic patterns within stone? If so, how did isolated mountain communities develop such precise alignments? And could this reflect a shared architectural and cosmological tradition spanning distant lands and generations? The construction techniques are equally compelling. Massive slabs are set atop supporting stones with remarkable stability, forming chambers that have survived earthquakes, erosion, and centuries of exposure to the elements. Some dolmens include small passageways or niches carved with skill and purpose, revealing both technical mastery and symbolic intent. How could societies lacking written language or advanced machinery achieve such feats? And might these structures, like the megalithic monuments of Malta, Korea, and Europe, preserve knowledge inherited from civilizations lost to the Great Deluge, knowledge encoded in stone for future generations to discover? Legends and folklore surrounding the Caucasus Dolmens add another layer to the mystery. Local tales speak of giants, divine builders, or ancient races responsible for these massive stones. While modern researchers often view these stories as myth, could they preserve faint echoes of historical truth, memories of extraordinary feats performed by human societies long erased from history? Are these legends symbolic, or could they hint at techniques, rituals, or spiritual practices now forgotten but once widely known? The placement of the dolmens also raises intriguing questions. Many are clustered across hillsides or along river valleys, forming networks that suggest territorial, spiritual, or social significance. Some are isolated on elevated ridges, commanding views over surrounding landscapes, while others are tucked into hidden valleys, almost as if designed to preserve secrecy. Did these locations hold energetic or spiritual meaning for the builders? Were they chosen for astronomical observation, ritual significance, or perhaps both? And might these choices mirror similar patterns found in megalithic sites across the globe, from the dolmens of Korea to the temples of Malta, hinting at a shared understanding of land, cosmos, and human ritual? Inside the chambers, one is often struck by the silence, the coolness of the stone, and the deliberate geometry. The stones interlock with precision, and the spaces are often more spacious than expected, evoking intentionality beyond mere tomb construction. Some researchers suggest acoustic considerations may have played a role, with sounds reverberating within the chambers during ritual ceremonies. Could these spaces have been designed to amplify voices or music, enhancing spiritual experiences or communal gatherings? And if so, does this reflect a broader, sophisticated approach to ritual architecture, one that transcends time and geography? Standing among the dolmens today, the visitor feels the weight of history, the persistence of knowledge encoded in stone, and the silent testimony of human endeavor. The dolmens speak of communities that valued precision, ritual, and permanence, leaving behind structures that challenge assumptions about prehistoric capability. They remind us that human innovation is ancient, that knowledge can survive through catastrophe, and that even in remote valleys, people were capable of remarkable feats of engineering, planning, and vision. Yet despite centuries of study, the Caucasus dolmens retain their deepest secrets. Who precisely built them, and how? What rituals, knowledge, or beliefs guided their construction? And could they be fragments of a wider, pre-flood network of megalithic wisdom, connecting disparate cultures across continents, from Europe to Asia, in ways we are only beginning to perceive? The stones themselves remain mute, yet they provoke questions that echo through time, inviting the observer to wonder what truths are preserved in their silent, enduring presence, waiting for those willing to explore the hidden legacies of an ancient world. High upon the windswept plains of Armenia, a field of stone rises from the earth like a silent congregation frozen in time. This is Zorats Karer, also known as Karahunj, a sprawling megalithic complex whose weathered monoliths have stood for millennia, aligned with the subtle rhythms of the cosmos. From a distance, the stones appear scattered at random, yet as one moves among them, patterns emerge, rows, circles, and clusters that hint at deliberate design. The air is thick with history and mystery. Each stone seems to hold a story, a fragment of knowledge, or a message long forgotten by humanity. Standing here, one cannot help but feel the weight of time pressing down, inviting reflection on the civilization that shaped such a monument before written records or the upheavals of history. Scholars date Zorats Karer to approximately 7,500 to 5,000 BC, making it one of the oldest megalithic sites in the world. The stones themselves vary in size, some small and manageable, others weighing several tons. Many bear circular holes, their precise function still debated. Some suggest they were used for astronomical observation, allowing light from stars to penetrate or align through them at significant times of the year. Could these holes have been an early form of proto-telescope, guiding the gaze of ancient observers toward the heavens? And if so, what secrets of the night sky did these prehistoric architects hope to record? And why were such revelations etched into enduring stone rather than ephemeral materials? The layout of Zorats Karer is particularly compelling. Certain rows of stones align with the sunrise and sunset at solstices and equinoxes, as well as with the positions of prominent celestial bodies. This suggests not only an advanced understanding of astronomy, but also the existence of ritual or spiritual practices intimately tied to the movements of the cosmos. How did these prehistoric builders, without the benefit of modern instruments, achieve such precision across a landscape so vast? Were they observing the heavens over generations, meticulously recording positions, or did they inherit knowledge from a civilization whose sophistication preceded the catastrophic floods that reshaped human memory? The purpose of the complex remains deeply enigmatic. While some researchers classify Zorats Karer as a necropolis, there are few human remains directly associated with the stones, leaving its function open to interpretation. Was it primarily ceremonial, a site for gathering and ritual, or did it serve as a cosmic observatory, blending spiritual practice with the practical tracking of time and seasons? Perhaps it was all of these things, a multidimensional space in which observation, devotion, and community intertwined. Such speculation forces us to consider the sophistication of societies that existed long before what we consider the dawn of civilization. Construction techniques are equally remarkable. Many stones are carefully balanced, their placement stable across thousands of years. Some monoliths appear to have been quarried from distant locations, suggesting the coordination of significant labor and logistical planning. How were these heavy stones transported, raised, and set with such precision? Could it have been the result of trial and error over generations, or might the builders have inherited methods passed down from a civilization lost to time, one whose knowledge of megalithic construction spanned continents? Local folklore adds layers of intrigue. Legends speak of a place where the earth itself hums with energy, where giants once walked, and where the heavens communicate with those who know how to listen. While modern science approaches such tales with caution, could they be echoes of cultural memory, preserving faint traces of an extraordinary reality now obscured? Are these narratives metaphorical, or might they encode observations, rituals, or technologies whose meaning we have yet to comprehend? The stones of Zorats Karer also invite contemplation of human intention and ingenuity. Each monolith was carefully chosen, shaped, and placed, often forming alignments that are not immediately obvious. In some cases, the rows seem to converge upon distant peaks or valley features, suggesting a relationship between the built environment and the natural landscape. Was this intended to map sacred geography, connect earth and sky, or serve as a guide for spiritual journeys? And if these choices reflect knowledge inherited from a pre-flood civilization, could similar principles have influenced megalithic sites from Malta to Korea, from the Caucasus to South America, linking disparate cultures through a lost global tradition? As one moves among the stones, the silence is palpable. The wind whispers through gaps and apertures, carrying with it an almost imperceptible resonance, as if the earth itself remembers the hands that shaped this place. Every carved hole, every balanced slab, every subtle alignment speaks to purpose, precision, and reverence. The builders of Zorats Karer were not merely shaping stone, they were shaping experience, encoding understanding into matter that could endure millennia. Yet, despite centuries of study and exploration, the full mystery of Zorats Karer endures. Who were the people capable of such monumental construction? What knowledge guided their hands, and what observations of the heavens, earth, or human spirit were encoded in these stones? Could this site be a surviving fragment of a global network of pre-flood megalithic wisdom, a shared heritage of knowledge and spirituality stretching across continents, now partially obscured by the passage of time and catastrophe? Emerging from the field, the plains stretch endlessly beneath the Caucasus foothills, and the stones stand silent, their secrets intact. Zorats Karer challenges our assumptions about the capabilities of prehistoric societies, compelling us to imagine a world in which human ingenuity, spiritual awareness, and cosmic observation converged long before recorded history. As the sun sets over the monoliths, it illuminates questions that remain unanswered, inviting those who seek knowledge to ponder the civilizations, technologies, and mysteries that may have flourished before the Great Flood reshaped the Earth, and whose echoes we continue to encounter in stone across the globe. On the windswept moors of the Isle of Lewis, in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland, a circle of towering stones emerges from the mist like ancient sentinels guarding secrets older than memory. These are the Callanish Stones, or Callanish, arranged in deliberate patterns that stretch across the landscape, forming a complex of circles, avenues, and alignments that baffle archaeologists and captivate the imagination. From a distance, the monoliths appear as scattered, lonely pillars, yet as one approaches, the intentionality becomes clear. Each stone, some more than 5 meters tall, seems positioned with purpose, aligned along axes that suggest an intimate knowledge of the sun, moon, and stars. Here, among the fog and heather, the echoes of a prehistoric world linger, silent yet profoundly present. Archaeologists date the primary circle to approximately 2900–2600 BC, placing it in the late Neolithic period, though some surrounding megaliths may be older. The sheer scale and precision of the arrangement suggest more than casual construction. How were these massive stones quarried, transported, and erected with such careful orientation in a landscape dominated by peat bogs, rocky terrain, and harsh winds? Could this have been the work of a single community, or did it require coordinated effort across generations, guided by knowledge preserved from an even earlier era, perhaps one that survived the great floods recorded in myth and memory? The stones themselves are striking in their simplicity and power. Weathered granite rises from the ground, each monolith unique in shape and texture, yet collectively forming a harmony that suggests deliberate design. Some stones are set in a circle, others line avenues extending outward, while smaller stones punctuate the landscape, hinting at subsidiary functions. Scholars debate their purpose: astronomical observatory, ceremonial site, or sacred gathering space. Could the Callanish Stones have served multiple roles simultaneously, tracking lunar cycles, guiding seasonal rituals, and marking sacred geography? And if so, what did their creators hope to communicate across generations, embedding meaning in stone that would endure millennia? Astronomical alignments are among the most compelling features of Callanish. Certain stones appear positioned to mark the rising of the moon at major standstill events, while others may track solar solstices and equinoxes. These alignments suggest a sophisticated understanding of celestial movements, achieved without telescopes or written records. How did the builders develop such precision? Was it through careful observation over decades and centuries, or could they have inherited knowledge from an earlier, pre-flood civilization? A tradition of sky watching and megalithic construction preserved in memory and ritual. The construction methods provoke equally profound questions. Each stone, some weighing several tons, was moved from local quarries, likely using rollers, sledges, and sheer human coordination. How ancient communities mastered these techniques remains debated, and yet the stones stand intact after thousands of years of wind, rain, and frost. Could these techniques, echoed in megalithic sites from Korea to Armenia to Malta, reflect a shared architectural wisdom that spanned continents and predates recorded history? Local folklore surrounds the Callanish stones, layering the archaeological with the mythic. Stories speak of giants, supernatural beings, and ancient rituals, of stones that move or emit sounds when the wind passes through them. Modern researchers may dismiss these as legend, yet could they preserve fragments of cultural memory, encoding real practices or events from a world long erased by cataclysm? Is it possible that these myths are echoes of a sophisticated understanding of landscape, astronomy, and ritual, passed down through generations in story and stone? The site's location enhances its mystery. Situated atop a small ridge overlooking lochs and valleys, the stones command a sweeping view of the surrounding landscape, connecting earth and sky in a way that seems intentional, almost sacred. Some researchers suggest the stones mark the cycles of human life, death, and the cosmos, forming a symbolic map that ties the community to the land and the heavens. Could such a landscape, designed with both spiritual and practical insight, hint at a shared global understanding of nature and cosmic order mirrored in megalithic sites from the Caucasus to Korea, from Malta to South America? Walking among the Callanish stones, the silence is profound. The wind whistles across the moors, and the monoliths cast long shadows that shift with the sun, marking time in ways both visible and intangible. One senses that these stones are more than markers of the dead or ceremonial grounds. They are repositories of knowledge, skill, and intention, enduring long after the builders themselves have vanished. The precision of their placement, the alignment with celestial events, and the harmony with the surrounding landscape speak to an understanding of the cosmos far beyond what we often attribute to Neolithic communities. Yet, despite centuries of study, the full purpose and origin of the Callanish stones remain elusive. Who were the people capable of such monumental planning and execution? What knowledge guided their construction, and what observations of earth and sky did they encode in stone? Could these monuments be remnants of a global pre-flood network of megalithic wisdom, echoing the design principles and cosmic knowledge found in Armenia, the Caucasus, Korea, and beyond? As the sun dips behind the outer Hebrides and mist gathers once more over the moors, the Callanish stones stand in quiet testament to human curiosity, ingenuity, and reverence for the cosmos. They remind us that our ancestors observed, calculated, and celebrated the world in ways that challenge modern assumptions about prehistoric societies. And while the stones offer no direct answers, they provoke questions that endure. What secrets lie hidden in these alignments? What knowledge has been lost to time? And how much of this wisdom connects to civilizations that existed long before the Great Flood reshaped the world? In the heart of the arid desert of Saudi Arabia, a solitary sandstone monolith rises from the ochre sands, split perfectly down the middle as if by the hand of some unfathomable force. This is the Al-Naslaa split stone, a marvel of precision and balance that defies easy explanation. Standing at nearly 8 meters tall and lying upon a flat, rocky plateau, the stone is divided into two halves by a remarkably straight fissure, yet both sides remain perfectly aligned, untouched by centuries of wind, rain, and seismic activity. The desert wind whistles through the split, carrying with it a sense of timelessness, a quiet echo of a civilization that might have existed long before recorded history. Here, on this remote plateau, the boundaries between natural and human-made, between known and unknown, blur in a way that is profoundly unsettling and captivating. Scholars date the petroglyphs etched into nearby rocks to around 5000 BC, suggesting that the region was inhabited by people capable of sophisticated observation and symbolic expression. Yet the split stone itself is more than an artifact. It is an enigma. The precision of the cleavage is so exact that even modern engineers struggle to replicate it without contemporary tools. Could it be a natural formation, sculpted by millennia of geological forces, or is there evidence of deliberate human intervention? And if humans were involved, what techniques could they have employed to achieve such flawless symmetry with the limited technology available in the Neolithic era? Theories abound, ranging from the geological to the mystical. Some researchers suggest that natural processes, such as thermal expansion and contraction or seismic activity, could have caused the stone to split along existing fault lines. But the nearly perfect alignment of the two halves, coupled with a smooth, polished surface along the cleavage, challenges purely natural explanations. How could wind, rain, or tectonic stress create a fracture so straight and deliberate? Could it be that an ancient people, perhaps survivors of a civilization predating the Great Flood, possessed knowledge of stoneworking and precision engineering that has since been lost? Al-Naslaa's desert location adds to its mystique. Surrounded by smaller boulders, petroglyphs, and natural rock formations, the split stone appears almost as if it were intentionally placed in a deliberate context, a marker, a monument, or even a ritual site. The nearby carvings hint at symbolic meaning: animals, abstract shapes, and human-like figures that speak of spiritual and cultural sophistication. Could the split stone itself have been part of a larger ceremonial landscape, its precise division representing duality, cosmic balance, or alignment with celestial phenomena? And if so, what knowledge or belief system inspired its creation, and why has it endured in such a pristine state for thousands of years? The engineering mystery of Al-Naslaa is compounded by the sheer scale of the monolith. Each half weighs tens of tons, perfectly balanced atop the rocky platform. Even the slightest miscalculation in placement or cutting would have caused the stone to topple or crumble. How did prehistoric peoples, or perhaps a forgotten advanced civilization, manage to manipulate such massive blocks with such care and foresight? The split stone challenges assumptions about the capabilities of Neolithic societies, prompting questions about the existence of ancient techniques or knowledge now lost to time. Naturalists and archaeologists have marveled at the precision of the fissure, noting that it seems almost surgical, as if some invisible hand had cleaved the rock along a perfect plane. Could this precision have a practical purpose, such as facilitating the transport of the massive stone, or was it symbolic, meant to convey power, ritual significance, or alignment with the cycles of nature? And if the latter is true, what celestial or terrestrial phenomena might it have been intended to mirror? Sun, moon, stars, or perhaps the unseen rhythms of the earth itself? Local legends add another layer to the enigma. Stories of ancient spirits and protective forces surround the monolith, hinting that generations of people have perceived it as more than stone. While folklore cannot be taken as literal evidence, Could these tales encode faint memories of extraordinary practices, technologies, or beliefs, fragments of a pre-flood world preserved in oral tradition? Does the split stone act as a silent messenger, carrying warnings, knowledge, or spiritual resonance across the millennia? As the sun rises and casts elongated shadows across the desert floor, the split stone glows with an almost otherworldly presence. Its division, precise yet fragile, speaks to an understanding of balance, symmetry, and endurance that transcends time. It invites contemplation not only of the forces of nature, but of human ingenuity, ritual, and cosmic awareness. Could it be that this solitary monolith is part of a network of megalithic wisdom stretching across continents? An echo of the same global knowledge hinted at by Zorats Karer, Callanish, and the Dolmens of Korea? Walking around the stone, one senses a subtle hum of history, a reminder that some mysteries endure because they are meant to be experienced rather than solved. Al-Naslaa challenges modern perceptions of possibility, suggesting that ancient civilizations, perhaps predating the Great Flood, were capable of feats of observation, engineering, and spiritual expression that continue to astonish. And as the desert wind shifts, stirring the sands around the monolith, one cannot help but wonder, who first cleaved this stone so perfectly, and what message, hidden in plain sight, has it been carrying across the ages, waiting for humanity to listen? Scattered across the hills and plains of Jordan and Palestine, colossal stone slabs rise from the earth in stark contrast to the soft curves of the surrounding landscape. These are the dolmens, ancient megalithic tombs, some composed of immense capstones weighing tens of tons, supported by carefully arranged vertical stones that have stood for millennia. From a distance, they resemble natural rock formations, yet their deliberate placement and construction quickly reveal themselves to the observant eye. In the golden light of dawn, shadows stretch across the slabs, accentuating their massive scale and geometric precision, evoking a quiet awe that transcends time. Archaeologists date many of these dolmens to the late Neolithic and early Bronze Age, roughly 4000 to 2500 BC, though some evidence suggests that their origins may be older, hinting at practices predating the earliest recorded civilizations in the region. Hundreds of these structures are spread across the Golan Heights, the Jordan Valley, and parts of northern Palestine, forming networks of monumental architecture that seem to defy logistical explanation. How did these communities, without wheels, pulleys, or written engineering manuals, maneuver such massive stones into exacting arrangements? Could there have been knowledge or methods preserved from an even older, perhaps pre-flood era? The dolmens themselves vary in design, from simple two-stone supports with a massive capstone to more complex, multi-chambered constructions. Some feature engraved symbols or cup marks whose meanings remain unknown, adding an enigmatic layer to these already mysterious monuments. Were these purely burial sites, or did they serve additional functions, ceremonial, astronomical, or perhaps even as territorial markers? And if they were burial sites, how did early humans manage the labor, coordination, and precision required to construct them on such a scale? Theories about their construction abound. Some suggest they were erected using earthen ramps and logs as primitive rollers. Yet the precision with which many dolmens are balanced and aligned suggests an understanding of mechanics that seems strikingly advanced for the era. In some locations, the stones are arranged along cardinal axes or in relation to nearby topographical features, hinting at an awareness of celestial events, seasonal cycles, or symbolic landscape mapping. Could these placements have encoded knowledge of the heavens, preserved across generations? Might the builders have possessed an intimate understanding of astronomy and geometry, passed down from a civilization older than the flood myths themselves? Dolmens also evoke an aura of ritual and sacredness. They are often located on elevated terrain, commanding views of valleys, rivers, or plateaus, suggesting that visibility and prominence were deliberate considerations. Approaching one, the sheer scale of the stones inspires both reverence and curiosity. The weight of history presses in, as if the silent guardians of stone have witnessed centuries of human passage. What beliefs or spiritual principles guided the construction of these monuments? Were they markers of memory, tombs of elites, or perhaps gateways to understanding a universe more complex than our own? Some dolmens feature unique characteristics that deepen the mystery. Certain capstones are perfectly flat and balanced, while others have fissures or grooves that seem intentional. These features could be purely functional, to relieve weight or facilitate construction, yet some researchers speculate about symbolic meaning or lost technological knowledge. Could these subtle details reflect a system of measurement or a symbolic language designed to communicate across time? And if so, why have so many of these methods been lost to history, leaving only the silent stones as testament to their ingenuity? Local folklore and oral traditions provide tantalizing glimpses into the significance of these megaliths. Stories of spirits, ancient rites, and hidden treasures surround the dolmens, hinting that these stones were not merely tombs, but focal points of human experience and cultural memory. Could these tales preserve fragments of knowledge about pre-flood civilizations, encoded in narrative form to survive cataclysm and millennia of human upheaval? And what can the physical arrangement of the stones tell us when combined with the symbolic imagery etched or worn into their surfaces? The environmental context also raises questions. Many dolmens are situated near sources of water, fertile plains or vantage points over critical trade and migration routes. Was this intentional, linking the monuments to practical, spiritual, and communal functions simultaneously? Could the selection of these sites reflect a comprehensive understanding of landscape, hydrology, and astronomy that guided not only construction but the broader organization of early societies? Standing among these ancient stones, one is struck by the sheer audacity and precision of human ambition. The dolmens of Jordan and Palestine endure as silent witnesses, bridging the gap between the known and the unknowable, between practical construction and profound mystery. They invite contemplation not only of who built them, but why, and what ancient knowledge might still lie hidden beneath their weathered surfaces, or in the alignments that connect them across valleys and hills. And yet, despite centuries of study, these monuments remain enigmatic. How much of their story is lost to time? What knowledge of engineering, astronomy, or ritual did their creators possess? Could these dolmens be remnants of a vast pre-flood network of megalithic wisdom echoing across continents, from the split stone of Al-Naslaa to the dolmens of Korea, the megalithic temples of Malta, and beyond? As the sun dips toward the horizon and shadows lengthen over the ancient stones, one is left with a profound sense of wonder. These silent monuments continue to challenge our understanding of human history, leaving us to ponder the secrets they have guarded for thousands of years. High in the rugged Andean foothills of northern Peru, where the mountains rise abruptly from narrow valleys and rivers carve channels through steep rock, lies Chavín de Huántar, a complex of stone temples and plazas that seems to defy the limits of time and human ingenuity. From afar, the site appears as a cluster of irregular stone mounds, blending with the natural contours of the landscape. Yet, as one approaches, the intricacy of its construction becomes undeniable. Carved stairways, underground galleries, and massive stone blocks arranged with meticulous precision hint at a civilization capable of both architectural mastery and deep symbolic expression. The wind whistles through the valley, carrying whispers of a culture that thrived over 3,000 years ago, leaving behind a labyrinth of stone imbued with meaning we are only beginning to sense. Archaeologists date the main ceremonial center of Chavín de Huántar to around 900–200 BC, a time when Andean societies were developing complex social and religious structures. Yet the more one studies the site, the more questions emerge. How were enormous granite blocks, some weighing several tons, quarried, transported, and positioned across steep terrain without wheels or draft animals? Could the builders have had knowledge of tools, techniques, or engineering principles that surpass what we typically ascribe to societies of this era? And if so, might some of this knowledge have roots in an even older, pre-flood civilization, long lost to time? Chavín's architecture is both practical and enigmatic. The temple's interior is a maze of narrow passages, subterranean tunnels, and stone platforms, carefully aligned with the surrounding landscape. Some scholars argue these features were designed to amplify sound, creating acoustic effects that could have enhanced ceremonial rituals, perhaps even manipulating the perception of those within the sacred space. Could this have been intentional? An early form of engineered sensory experience to convey spiritual or cosmological truths? And if so, what beliefs, knowledge, or observations inspired such sophisticated design, seemingly decades, or even centuries, before similar techniques appeared elsewhere in the world? Carved into the stone walls are intricate reliefs depicting anthropomorphic and zoomorphic figures, serpents, jaguars, and eagles intertwined with abstract motifs. These images suggest a symbolic system capable of encoding knowledge about nature, spirituality, and perhaps even the cosmos. Some of these carvings align with nearby water channels, hinting at a deeper integration of natural forces into the ritual experience. Could Chavín have functioned not merely as a temple, but as a repository of ancient wisdom, an observatory, library, and ceremonial center all in one? And what aspects of this knowledge were intended to be seen, heard, or felt, as opposed to being recorded in a form we might recognize today? The labyrinthine underground galleries, partially submerged and carefully ventilated, suggest advanced planning and an understanding of water flow and acoustics that continues to astonish modern engineers. Could these subterranean chambers have been designed to harness sound, echoing chants, or instruments to create a spiritual experience that transcended the physical world? And if so, what does this reveal about the Chavín worldview, about their understanding of the interplay between earth, water, stone, and human consciousness? Chavín de Huántar is not alone in its mysteries. Across the Andean region, similar ceremonial centers appear, each with unique adaptations of stone construction, ritual space, and symbolic iconography. Yet Chavín stands apart for its scale and precision. How did knowledge travel between these sites? Was there a broader cultural network stretching across mountains and valleys, connecting Chavín with other megalithic sites around the world? Could these distant civilizations share a common heritage, perhaps linked to a time before the Great Flood reshaped human history and geography? The natural environment surrounding Chavín amplifies its enigmatic presence. Towering peaks frame the valley, rivers converge near the temple, and seasonal shifts dramatically alter the light and sound within the complex. Did the builders consider these environmental dynamics, intentionally incorporating celestial alignments, seasonal water flow, and acoustics into the design? Could these deliberate interactions with the natural world reflect a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, hydrology, and ecology, an understanding that might have been lost with the rise and fall of early civilizations? Local legends and cultural memory echo through the Andes, telling stories of powerful shamans, jaguar spirits, and divine intermediaries who communicated with humans through sacred stone. Could these oral traditions preserve fragments of an older wisdom encoded in narrative form to survive centuries of upheaval and environmental change? And might the labyrinthine passages and precise stonework themselves be a form of knowledge, one meant to be experienced rather than read, teaching lessons in perception, balance, and cosmic awareness to those initiated into its mysteries? Walking through Chavín de Huántar, one is struck by a sense of deliberate harmony between stone and landscape, sound and silence, human craft and natural forces. Every corridor, relief, and chamber seems to invite reflection, urging the visitor to consider the interplay between human ambition and the mysteries of the natural and spiritual worlds. Could this site be a deliberate echo of a pre-flood civilization's understanding of architecture, cosmology, and ritual preserved in stone across millennia? As the sun dips behind the Andean peaks and shadows deepen in the temple's subterranean corridors, Chavín de Huántar stands as a silent testament to ingenuity, faith, and the mysteries that endure long after civilizations have vanished. Its stone walls speak quietly, suggesting that knowledge, ritual, and perhaps even an understanding of forces we are only beginning to perceive were encoded here in ways that transcend time. And so we are left with a profound question. What secrets lie hidden within these ancient stones, and how much of a long-lost, pre-flood world might still resonate through their enduring presence? Nestled on the high plains of the Bolivian Altiplano, near the shimmering waters of Lake Titicaca, the Akapana Pyramid rises as a massive testament to human ingenuity, its stepped terraces stretching upward in a pattern both imposing and enigmatic. From a distance, the structure appears as a monumental mound of stone, blending with the earth, yet closer inspection reveals a sophisticated design, precisely cut blocks of andesite, expertly fitted without mortar, forming terraces, channels, and platforms that suggest an understanding of engineering far beyond what one might expect from an ancient society. The cold, crisp air of the Altiplano swirls around the pyramid, carrying a sense of stillness, as if the structure itself has been holding secrets for thousands of years, waiting for observers to notice its subtle yet profound intricacies. Archaeologists date the Akapana pyramid to around 500 to 200 BC, within the flourishing Tiwanaku civilization. Yet despite these estimates, questions abound. How were massive stones, some weighing tens of tons, quarried from distant locations, transported across rough terrain, and assembled with such precision? Could the builders have inherited knowledge from an even earlier epoch, predating conventional historical timelines, perhaps from a civilization long before the Great Flood reshaped human history? The pyramid's terraces are not merely decorative. They are intersected by a network of precisely cut channels and depressions. Some researchers suggest these were designed to carry water, perhaps to support ritual cleansing, agricultural purposes, or symbolic ceremonies connected to the surrounding landscape. Could this hydraulic system reflect an advanced understanding of hydrology and engineering that seems astonishing for the era? And if these channels were functional, why were they so intricately integrated with ceremonial spaces? Was there a spiritual or cosmological significance to the movement of water across these terraces? The Akapana is more than a pyramid. It is a statement in stone, a fusion of architecture, astronomy, and ritual practice. At various points along its terraces, the pyramid aligns with distant mountain peaks, suggesting that the builders may have encoded celestial observations into its design. Could the placement of these terraces reflect knowledge of solstices, equinoxes, or other astronomical phenomena? And if so, might the Tiwanaku people have had access to a body of pre-flood wisdom about the cosmos, encoded into stone for generations to read and interpret? Within the pyramid and its surrounding complex lie stone carvings and monoliths, some depicting anthropomorphic figures and others imbued with symbolic patterns that continue to puzzle researchers. These carvings hint at a sophisticated belief system, one that merged art, ritual, and the natural world. Could these figures represent deities, ancestors, or even a cosmological map, a guide to understanding the universe in ways that modern science is only beginning to grasp? And what other secrets might be hidden in the alignment of these stones with the terrain, water, and sky? The sheer scale of the Akapana pyramid underscores a societal organization capable of coordinating large-scale labor, logistics, and knowledge transfer. How did this society mobilize the workforce, maintain precision in construction, and pass down architectural knowledge across generations? Was this wisdom unique to Tiwanaku, or did it connect with other megalithic traditions, stretching from the Andes to distant lands, perhaps remnants of a global knowledge preserved from a pre-flood era? Environmental context deepens the mystery. The Altiplano's harsh climate, with its thin air and seasonal temperature swings, would have posed significant challenges for construction. Yet the builders of Akapana adapted, selecting specific stone types, cutting them with precision, and arranging terraces in a manner that harmonizes with the topography. Could the Tiwanaku engineers have been guided not only by practical considerations, but also by spiritual or cosmological imperatives, integrating natural forces into the very fabric of the pyramid? Legends and local folklore preserve echoes of the pyramid's significance. Stories of sacred rituals, ancestral guidance, and cosmic connection linger in the oral traditions of the region. Could these tales preserve fragments of knowledge from a civilization older than Tiwanaku itself, encoded in narrative to survive cataclysmic events and the passage of millennia? And what might we learn if we interpret the pyramid not only as architecture, but as a living record of pre-flood human ingenuity, encoded in stone and landscape? Standing atop the terraces of Akapana, one is struck by the interplay of scale, precision, and mystery. Every stone, every channel, every carefully angled platform suggests deliberate intention, hinting at a worldview that integrated engineering, ritual, and cosmic awareness. Could this be a remnant of a global network of pre-flood megalithic knowledge, where societies across continents encoded understanding of the cosmos, human organization, and sacred practice into monumental stone structures? And if so, how much remains hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered by those who seek to listen to the whispers of ancient stone? As the highland sun casts long shadows across the pyramid's terraces, the Akapana stands as a silent witness to ingenuity, mystery, and the enduring question of human origins. Its presence challenges our assumptions about what ancient civilizations were capable of, and invites reflection on the knowledge that might have existed long before recorded history. And so, as we gaze across the stone terraces and into the surrounding Andean expanse, one question lingers. What deeper truths lie encoded in these monumental stones, and how much of a pre-flood world's wisdom might still resonate through them, waiting for us to discover? On the sun-drenched shores of Easter Island, where the Pacific Ocean stretches endlessly toward the horizon, the Anakena Platform emerges as a quiet yet imposing testament to human vision. Soft white sands border the platform, contrasting with the deep blues of the surrounding sea, while gentle waves lap rhythmically against the coast, as if guarding the secrets of a bygone era. From this vantage point, the Anakena Platform appears deceptively simple, a series of carefully arranged stones forming a low, elongated terrace. Yet a closer look reveals meticulous construction. Massive basalt blocks, some weighing several tons, placed with precision to create a stable foundation capable of withstanding centuries of wind, rain, and seismic activity. The platform's edges align subtly with the coastline, hinting at a thoughtful integration of human endeavor with the natural landscape. The air itself seems charged with echoes of a past civilization, leaving one to wonder who first conceived such a structure and for what purpose. Scholars generally date Anakena to around 1200–800 BC, situating it within the early history of the Rapa Nui people. Yet, even with this timeline, the sheer scale and precision of the stonework raise profound questions. How did a relatively small population with limited technological resources quarry and transport enormous stones across the rugged island terrain. Could some of the techniques or knowledge have been inherited from an earlier epoch, perhaps tracing back to a civilization that existed long before the Great Flood reshaped the Earth's landscapes? The platform itself is more than a functional foundation. It is thought to have served as a ceremonial space, a stage for gatherings, rituals, or feasts that marked critical events in the community's calendar. But why choose this precise location? Could the selection of Anakena, facing the rising sun and overlooking the Pacific, reflect an understanding of celestial patterns, oceanic currents, or sacred geography? Was the alignment intentional, encoding knowledge of seasonal changes, solar cycles, or navigation into the very stones of the platform? The stones themselves carry subtle mysteries. Each block is finely shaped and fitted, often with angles and joints that allow them to interlock without mortar. Modern engineers marvel at the precision, noting that such techniques require not only skill but an intimate understanding of stone properties, balance, and structural integrity. Could these methods be echoes of a more ancient wisdom, lost to history, yet preserved here on this remote island? And if so, why is it that similar techniques appear in distant megalithic sites across the globe, from South America to the Mediterranean, hinting at a shared legacy of pre-flood engineering knowledge? Around Anakena, scattered fragments of basalt and coral hint at additional structures, pathways, or ceremonial arrangements that may have been part of a larger complex, now lost to time. Some researchers suggest that the platform could have functioned as a staging ground for transporting and erecting the island's iconic Moai statues, yet questions remain. How were these massive monoliths moved from quarries to precise positions, often over uneven terrain spanning several kilometers? Could Anakena's carefully leveled surface have been part of an intricate planning system, integrating mathematics, astronomy, and engineering into a coordinated effort that remains incomprehensible in its entirety? Local legends enrich the mystery. Oral traditions speak of ancestral figures, divine intervention, and sacred rites performed along the shorelines, yet the stories often blur the line between myth and historical memory. Could these tales preserve fragments of knowledge from a pre-flood culture, encoded in narrative and stone to survive cataclysmic events? And might the Anakena platform itself be a deliberate fusion of utility, spirituality, and astronomical observation, a living record of ancient wisdom awaiting interpretation? The environment amplifies the enigma. Anakena sits at the convergence of land, sea, and sky, where tides, wind, and sunlight interact in ways that shift subtly with the seasons. Could the platform have been intentionally designed to observe these natural rhythms, perhaps to mark ceremonial times, track celestial events, or align with distant landmarks on the island? What other subtle cues might the builders have incorporated? Lines, slopes, and placements meant to communicate with those attuned to the natural world. Walking along the Anakena platform, one senses an almost tactile connection to the past. The stone beneath one's feet is more than rock. It is a witness to centuries of human endeavor, thought, and ritual. Could it be that these blocks encode knowledge of construction, navigation, and cosmology that we have yet to fully decipher? And as we examine the site within the broader context of global megalithic structures, from Tiwanaku to Easter Island's Moai, a tantalizing question emerges. Could these disparate locations represent remnants of a widespread, pre-flood network of knowledge, preserved in stone across continents and oceans? As the sun rises or sets over Anakena, casting long shadows across the terraces, the platform stands in quiet, enduring testimony to human creativity, resilience, and mystery. Its stones whisper of rituals, engineering, and perhaps even a worldview lost to the ages. And so we are left with a profound question. What secrets lie hidden in the careful placement of these ancient stones, and how much of a pre-flood civilization's wisdom remains encoded here, waiting for the curious and attentive to uncover? Rising from the sun-baked plains of Lebanon, the Baalbek Temple podium stretches toward the sky like a monumental declaration of human ambition and skill. The air is dry and carries the faint scent of stone and dust, while the horizon shimmers with the heat of the Levantine sun, giving the platform an almost ethereal glow. At first glance, it appears to be a simple foundation, a base for the grand temples that would later crown it. Yet the closer one examines the structure, the more its extraordinary scale and precision become apparent. Colossal limestone blocks, some estimated to weigh over 800 tons, are aligned with painstaking accuracy, their sheer size defying conventional understanding of ancient construction methods. The platform itself seems to hover between the realms of engineering and mystery, challenging us to comprehend the ingenuity required to carve, transport, and position such stones without the machinery we consider essential today. Archaeologists date the podium to around 1200 BC, but debates persist. Some suggest it may have been built in stages, evolving over centuries, yet the foundational stones, the infamous trilithons, appear almost impossibly ancient. How could a civilization, even one with the resources of Roman or pre-Roman builders, manipulate blocks of such magnitude with the limited technology of the era? Could these stones have been part of an even older, pre-flood construction, later adapted or expanded by subsequent societies? The very scale of the Baalbek podium hints at knowledge and techniques lost to time, leaving us to wonder whether its origins are tied to a civilization whose memory exists only in stone. The podium's surface is more than a functional base. It is a canvas of human intention. Each block is placed with exacting precision, edges cut to align with neighbors in a pattern that distributes weight and stress evenly. The interlocking joints, some recessed while others protrude, suggest advanced engineering principles, almost as if the builders anticipated centuries of seismic activity and shifting ground. Was this foresight born from observation, intuition, or knowledge passed down from a vanished culture? And why choose this particular plateau, elevated and commanding, overlooking the fertile Bekaa Valley? Could the location itself have spiritual or astronomical significance, marking solstices, celestial events, or ley lines now obscured by the passage of time? The platform's massive stones also invite reflection on the scale of ambition in the ancient world. Modern engineers marvel at the logistics required to quarry, transport, and position such colossal blocks, often estimating that even a slight miscalculation would have rendered the entire effort futile. Could the builders have employed techniques now lost, perhaps using earth ramps, lubricated tracks, or coordinated manpower in ways we cannot fully reconstruct? Or is it possible that some stones, hewn and moved with seemingly impossible precision, were lifted into place using knowledge or technology from a more ancient era, predating the civilizations historically credited with their construction? The interplay between history and mystery deepens when one considers the podium's alignment with the later temples of Jupiter, Bacchus, and Venus. While classical historians attribute these structures to Roman design, the sheer enormity of the base beneath them suggests that the Romans built upon a pre-existing, already monumental foundation. Could Baalbek have been a sacred site for millennia before its documented history, a center of ritual, astronomy, or power whose original purpose has been obscured by time? The question lingers. Did these massive stones serve a functional purpose beyond supporting temples? Perhaps as a cosmic observatory, a ceremonial stage, or a repository of knowledge encoded in their precise placement. Local traditions add layers of intrigue. Legends speak of giants and divine architects, of beings capable of moving enormous stones as easily as one might lift a pebble. While modern archaeology attributes such feats to human ingenuity and organization, the myths persist, hinting at a lingering awareness that Baalbek's construction defies easy explanation. Could these stories be fragments of memory, passed down through generations, preserving glimpses of techniques or events from a time lost beneath layers of history and sediment? Beyond its engineering marvels, the podium resonates with symbolism. Its elevated terraces, expansive surface, and massive stones communicate authority, permanence, and a connection between earth and sky. Was this intentional, designed to inspire awe in all who approached, or did the builders also encode hidden knowledge, mathematical, astronomical, or ritualistic, into the very dimensions of the structure? And if so, how much of this understanding has been lost to millennia of human activity, erosion, and historical reinterpretation? Walking among the trilithons and terraces, one cannot help but sense a dialogue between past and present. The stones themselves seem to whisper of ingenuity, vision, and perhaps knowledge inherited from a civilization far older than recorded history allows. How many generations contributed to this monumental platform, and how many have we yet to discover? Could the podium be a remnant of a pre-flood era, its true purpose buried in layers of human adaptation and myth? As the sun dips low over the Bekaa Valley, shadows stretch across the colossal stones, highlighting the precision of their placement and the enduring mystery of their origin. The Baalbek Temple podium stands not only as a feat of engineering, but as a silent challenge to our understanding, inviting us to ponder the ingenuity, ambition, and perhaps forgotten knowledge of those who came before. And so, we are left with a profound question. Beneath the familiar story of Roman temples and classical construction, what secrets remain hidden in the massive stones of Baalbek, waiting for those who dare to look beyond the surface? Emerging from the rolling plains of southern England, Stonehenge rises as an enigmatic silhouette against the ever-shifting sky. Even from a distance, its arrangement of towering sarsen stones and smaller blue stones evokes a sense of deliberate purpose, an architectural statement that has stood for millennia. The air is thick with the scent of grass and earth, carrying whispers of countless generations who have approached this circle of stone, seeking answers, offering rituals, or simply standing in awe. Each stone seems imbued with a silent authority, a resonance that transcends its physical presence. The scale is staggering. The largest sarsens weigh over 40 tons, and yet they stand upright in precise alignment, balanced atop horizontal lintels with an architectural sophistication that challenges conventional understanding of prehistoric engineering. Archaeologists date the construction of Stonehenge to between 3000 and 2000 BC, yet the origins of the stones themselves suggest a far older narrative. The blue stones, transported from the Preseli Hills in Wales, some 150 miles away, reveal a level of logistical coordination and endurance that continues to confound modern experts. How did a people without wheeled vehicles or draft animals move stones of such weight over great distances? Did they rely solely on primitive methods of sledges, rollers, and manpower? Or could they have had knowledge or techniques now lost to time? Some theorists have even suggested the possibility of pre-flood origins, proposing that the site may have been built upon or inspired by structures older than human memory allows. Stonehenge's design is no mere accident. The alignment of its stones corresponds to celestial events, most notably the solstices. On the longest day of the year, the rising sun casts its first rays directly into the heart of the monument, illuminating the central altar in a display of light and shadow that must have held profound significance for its builders. Was this purely an astronomical observatory, a ceremonial calendar, or a combination of both? And if so, how did the builders achieve such precision without the instruments we consider essential today? Could the positioning of the stones encode knowledge lost to us, a message or map left intentionally for those who came later to decipher? The enormity of the task is further amplified by the monument's layering. Excavations have revealed multiple phases of construction, suggesting that Stonehenge evolved over centuries. Yet the foundation stones and the central circle convey a knowledge of geometry and symmetry that seems to surpass the capabilities attributed to Neolithic societies. Were the later builders merely adapting and expanding upon an even older, pre-existing structure, perhaps one whose memory had survived catastrophic floods or societal collapse? And if this is the case, what did that original civilization know about the world, the stars, and the forces of nature that we have yet to rediscover? The stones themselves tell a story beyond human engineering. Some bear subtle markings, grooves, or indentations, evidence of tools and labor, yet others appear polished or shaped in ways that defy simple explanation. How were these surfaces carved so uniformly? Could there have been specialized knowledge, lost techniques, or even unconventional methods, some suggest even acoustic or vibrational tools, that allowed the builders to manipulate these megaliths with such precision? And why choose this particular site amidst the Salisbury Plain, far from obvious resources, yet situated atop a landscape rich with water sources, earthworks, and barrows? Was the location chosen for spiritual resonance, for astronomical alignment, or perhaps for reasons that remain hidden beneath layers of soil and history? Local legends and folklore add a mystical dimension to Stonehenge. Tales of giants transporting the stones from distant lands, or of ancient magicians and otherworldly architects, have persisted for centuries. While modern science attributes the monument to human ingenuity, these stories suggest a lingering awareness that the site's construction may have involved knowledge or capabilities beyond ordinary comprehension. Could these legends preserve fragments of a deeper truth, hinting at an earlier epoch when humanity's understanding of engineering, astronomy, or even the natural world was far greater than we assume? Stonehenge also invites reflection on purpose and meaning. Its concentric circles, towering trilithons, and intricate layout imply ritual, social hierarchy, or perhaps a gathering place for ceremonies long forgotten. Was it a center of spiritual convergence, a place to commune with celestial forces, or a repository of cultural memory designed to endure through millennia? And if some of its stones were already ancient when assembled, could they carry messages or energy from an earlier civilization, predating the known history of humankind, a silent testament to a world that existed before the Great Flood? As the wind sweeps across the plains and the sun dips behind the horizon, the stones cast elongated shadows, emphasizing their enormity and the deliberate care in their placement. Standing among them, one feels a bridge between past and present, a direct connection to those who lifted, aligned, and revered these monoliths. Each stone seems to ask questions rather than provide answers. How were they moved? Why here, in this precise alignment? What knowledge have we lost in the millennia since their erection? And above all, could Stonehenge be one of the remaining keys to understanding civilizations older than we have ever imagined, built before the waters rose and erased so much of humanity's memory? In the silence between the stones, the mystery lingers, compelling us to look closer, to question and to wonder. Beneath the layers of earth, legend, and time, what truths remain hidden in the ancient circle of Stonehenge, waiting for those daring enough to search for them? As the dust settles over the arid plains of the Indus Valley, the foundations of Mohenjo-Daro emerge like ghostly echoes of a civilization long vanished. Even in their ruined state, the remnants of its streets, platforms, and granaries convey a sense of deliberate planning and astonishing sophistication. The city spreads across the landscape in a grid of straight avenues and carefully aligned structures, hinting at an advanced understanding of urban design that seems remarkably modern for a civilization dating back to approximately 2500 BC. The sun casts long shadows across the brick foundations, revealing patterns and geometries that continue to challenge scholars. Each block, each alignment, meticulously placed as though following an unseen blueprint. Excavations reveal that Mohenjo-Daro was not a city of haphazard construction. Its streets are laid out with precision. Drainage channels run beneath them, some still intact, a testament to advanced hydraulic engineering. Wells punctuate the city at regular intervals, offering fresh water to a populace whose numbers may have reached tens of thousands. Yet, beyond these functional features lies a deeper mystery. The uniformity of the bricks, standardized in size and shape, and the sheer scale of the platforms suggest a level of coordination and resources that is difficult to reconcile with the presumed technological limitations of the time. How was such a complex society organized? What knowledge allowed them to manipulate materials and labor on such a scale, seemingly without the tools we consider essential today? The city's foundations themselves evoke questions about what preceded them. Some researchers have speculated that the builders of Mohenjo-Daro may have drawn upon older, forgotten knowledge, inherited from a civilization predating the Indus Valley itself. Could there have been earlier structures, washed away or buried by the cataclysmic floods described in countless myths which informed the layout and engineering of this urban marvel? The foundations sit atop a landscape shaped by rivers and seasonal flooding, yet the city shows remarkable adaptation to its environment, suggesting that its architects had an intimate understanding of hydrology and topography, possibly accumulated over generations, or inherited from even older traditions lost to history. The geometry of the city itself adds to the enigma. Large platforms rise above the surrounding streets, their purpose still debated. Were they ceremonial centers, administrative hubs, or defensive measures? The Great Bath, a sunken structure built with precision-cut bricks and watertight layers, indicates ritual or communal gatherings, yet its sophistication is unparalleled in contemporary civilizations. Could this be evidence of a society that valued not only function, but symbolism, where architecture itself became a form of expression, a reflection of cosmology, or even spiritual belief? Even the materials pose questions. Bricks were baked and standardized, and mud, stone, and timber were employed in ways that reveal technical knowledge of durability and weight distribution. Some blocks appear so finely crafted that moving and aligning them would have required techniques we can barely imagine today. Could the builders have known principles of leverage, friction, or material science that predate recorded history? And if such knowledge existed, why did it vanish along with the city itself, leaving us only with foundations as silent witnesses? The mystery deepens when considering the abrupt decline of Mohenjo-Daro. Archaeological evidence points to sudden destruction, possibly caused by flooding, seismic activity, or other cataclysmic events. Yet, the mechanisms remain unclear. Was this collapse a natural disaster, or could it hint at human upheaval or societal collapse, perhaps triggered by forces we cannot fully reconstruct? And what of the remnants of older structures beneath the foundations? Were these the footprints of even earlier settlements, now submerged or erased by time, whispering of civilizations predating the floods chronicled in myth and legend? The alignment of streets, the uniformity of the bricks, and the scale of construction suggest knowledge of planning that resonates with other megalithic sites across the globe. From the standing stones of Europe to the pyramids of Egypt, there seems to be a recurring theme. Human societies, separated by continents, achieving remarkable precision and sophistication in ways that conventional history struggles to explain. Could Mohenjo-Daro be part of this same hidden lineage, a testament to pre-flood ingenuity preserved in earth and stone? And if so, what What other cities, foundations, and structures remain buried beneath layers of soil, awaiting discovery? Walking among the ruins today, one cannot help but feel the presence of the past. The worn bricks and eroded platforms speak of daily life, of families, merchants, and builders whose knowledge was profound, yet ultimately lost. Each line, each corner, invites reflection on the human capacity to plan, to create, and to adapt, even in times that seem impossibly distant. What did the people of Mohenjo-Daro know about their world that we have yet to understand? And what truths about our collective past lie hidden beneath the sediment, beneath the foundations, waiting to be uncovered? As the wind whispers through the empty streets and the sun dips toward the horizon, the city's silent foundations continue to challenge our assumptions about history. They speak not just of survival, commerce, or ritual, but of intellect, ambition, and perhaps even knowledge lost to cataclysmic events. The mystery remains. Are these ruins merely the remnants of a sophisticated urban culture? Or are they fragments of a far older story? A story that stretches back before the great floods, to a time when civilizations may have risen and fallen under skies very different from our own. Standing on these foundations, one is compelled to wonder, what else might Mohenjo-Daro conceal? How much of human ingenuity lies buried beneath the plains of the Indus, waiting for those willing to trace the lines of bricks and pathways back into the distant past? And in that silence, as shadows lengthen across the ancient streets, we are reminded that some mysteries are never fully resolved. They remain invitations to look closer, to question, and to imagine what has been lost to the waters of time.